everyone, it is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to get you really excited about a bunch of books that should be added to your pull list at your local comic shop, which means you should be picking them up every single month that they come out. Now, speaking of months, we've had a lot going on in the month of February, and so because of that, I have a month's worth of comics here to tell you about. We've never missed that many shows from any reason before, but between going on the amazing, awesome San Diego Comic-Con cruise for the inaugural year, to me getting extremely sick, to us going to the annual Retailers Comics Convention, Comics Pro over in LA, we haven't been here to share all the comics with you. So I'm going to try to share all of them with you from memory tonight to help you wind down your February. But in order to do that, of course, if we're going to wind down the month, the week, the year, whatever it is, we're going to need some wine. So today we are drinking Specially Selected. This is Rioja, which is a Tempranillo, which is, of course, if you watch the show, my favorite kind of wine. Matt, where is this from?
Aldi.
Aldi. All right, so this is like the Aldi brand, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
So sweet. I'm really excited to see what all these got for me, so I'm going to take a drink. Oh, that's nice. That is going to open up really, really strong. It says on the back that it's like cherry with aroma of vanilla and oak. You can definitely smell that. And it has like a little bit of softness because of the cherry and the vanilla like blendingness to it. But you still got all that spiciness of a Tempranillo. And man, that's smooth. That's really nice. Yeah, I cannot wait for what that tastes like in an hour because you can already feel like the little bits of spice trying to like peek its head out. And we just opened it, so I know that as this goes on, when I get halfway through this giant pile and I'm like, oh my god, let me take a drink really fast, it's going to be really spicy and I'm probably going to cough up a lung because I'm going to overdo it. But it's going to be amazing. So I'm going to slide this wine bottle over here. Like I said, it's been a busy, busy month. We had an amazing time. Thank you again to San Diego Comic-Con, the cruise, and ACP for having us for the inaugural year. Thanks to all the friends we met. It was amazing. If you want to hear stories about it, come by the shop or like hit us up. We'd love to talk about how amazing it is. We've been sharing tons of videos and pictures and stuff on our Instagram, and we will keep doing that for as long as we can. And if you met us on there and have pictures of us, or if you see pictures of us from there on the internet, please feel free to tag at That City Comic Books because we'd love to share them. And a big shout out to all of our friends and from retailers to publishers to distributors that we saw at Comics Pro over in LA. It was fantastic. Great time to just celebrate all of the things that we've done in the past year as a comic industry and all the things coming forward. I'm not going to go into all the details of all those things, nor am I going to go into all the details of all the crazy stuff that's coming up in March, but I will tell you this next Saturday, March 8th, is another Dogman Day at That City, so don't miss it. March and April and May are all going to be incredibly huge, fun activity months for Bat City, so make sure you're following us on social media. Check those calendars pinned to the top of our Instagram or the events page on our Facebook for more details, because if I spent all the time telling you about all the things that were going on, I wouldn't have time to tell you about this massive pile of comics. So I'm actually going to spend more time with those because there's definitely a lot that you want to make sure that you're reading, and I want to give you all the time to catch them. I'm going to do my best to go super fast through all the ones that have been kind of coming out for a while that you may have already heard of. But when we get closer to those newer books, I want you to have some time to really write down all the ones that you want. So follow along. Let us know what you've read the month of February that's really popped off and been great for you as we kick it off. So I'm going to slide this over just a little bit because if I don't have enough room to hold a book up. And we're going to kick it off with Department of Truth issue 28 from Image. All right, remember everybody, this is a month's worth of books and I'm doing it by memory. So let's see how well I go. If you haven't read Department of Truth, basically it is the story of a department in the government that's job it is to keep conspiracy theories from becoming reality. Over the last little bit of this arc, we've actually been back in time to the time of where the organization really got its footing during the JFK conspiracy that came out. We are now popping back to this current time, and we're seeing that very first person that we interacted with in issue 1 actually still in the Department of Truth, kind of getting his footing and learning what exactly his role is going to be a little bit more, as he kind of has some of those experiences he hasn't interacted with so far. We kind of left him in a weird spot when we last saw him. And we are going to see the return of some big characters and maybe the conclusion of some story arcs that have been kind of hanging about throughout the Department of Truth so far. So if you haven't checked it out, Martin Simmons' art definitely leads you to some really weird optical illusions that are perfect for a conspiracy theory book that James Tynion just keeps digging deeper and deeper. We've got Kaya, issue 25 from Image. One of the cool things that Kaya does in between each of its major arcs is it gives us a one-shot that kind of just gives you a little further information about the world. And this is that one-shot that's giving us our newest break between arcs. And in this one, we travel back to the mutant lands, and we kind of see what happened between the current king and the uncle and the priest that was supposed to kind of show them the way to rule this world and everything, and kind of hear from him about how, the king keeps giving Kaya more power than she deserves because he's the one that furthers her legend. And we see how evil this king is and how he really just doesn't treat any of his people well, and kind of see him get a little bit of like his comeuppance and lead us to who's actually going to be the person that Kaya's going to have to jump in and save or stop. If you haven't read it yet, this is one of those where you just don't have to know anything about the world or the characters because it is a standalone issue, but it's a great bridge between to build more of the world out. Grimm is back with issue 21 from Boom Studios. It's been quite a while since we've seen this because Dr. Stephanie Phillips has been busy writing all of the books at Distillery with such great flair and flavor. But she is back to telling us the story of Jess, who is the daughter of the Grim Reaper and has been working as a Grim Reaper herself. But things have gone really bad because she has figured out that her father is in this epic battle with life, and life has kind of used her mom and herself as kind of a playing tool against death, and now her aunt has tried to take over the underworld, and that has led to this big uprising and people not dying. And as Jess is trying to put all of her life back together, we're starting to see her experience alternate realities of what her life could have been if she would not have been raised in the underworld the way she was supposed to be, and kind of to see what her life could have been and what her life is going to be, because she is having her own conversation with time personified, and we kind of see what their ultimate relationship is going to be and the ties that bind those two together. And I cannot wait to see this next arc of what Stephanie is going to take us on this journey. I Hate Fairyland, issue 20 from Image. This is the end of our Happy End Game arc that Scotty Young has been bringing us. And if you don't know I Hate Fairyland, basically Gert was a small child who won the opportunity to go to Fairyland, a magical place where all she had to do was go on a fun adventure and meet crazy characters and find a key and find a door and go home. Well, she didn't do that, and over the last decade, essentially, of Scotty Young's story, she has been destroying Fairyland and very angry. A 43-year-old woman trapped inside of an 8-year-old's body. She has been in this epic battle in this Happy Endgame arc against somebody that she has crossed in the past, and she's used every fairy tale character to help her with this battle. And in this issue, she finally defeats them and is given the one thing that Gert has always wanted, which is a key to go home, except for the fact that she's gonna have to go on an adventure to find it. Scotty Young is going to keep us trapped in Fairyland for as long as he can, and we're going to laugh and love it the whole way through. So keep going. Snot Girl, issue 18 from Image. Speaking of things returning, Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, has brought back one of his other fan favorites. And of course, we are dealing with some murder mystery and investigation that's been hanging over since the previous volume of Snot Girl. But now we find ourselves kind of for the first time seeing our main character, who's an influencer, who is great on the internet and terrible in real life, trying to experience her own happiness. But she has recently accidentally come out to her mom, who has decided that her and her girlfriend and the mom and the sister should all go on a trip to the aunt spa, only to find out that the aunt isn't there, the spa isn't open, and during the winter all of the pipes freeze over and nothing works. And so she is living in what might possibly be her own personal hell on earth, stuck there. And meanwhile, her girlfriend isn't very happy with her, and she doesn't know why. And as an extreme overthinker, she is currently dealing with everything all in her head in the worst ways possible, and this is just going to completely blow up in her face. While also maybe some of those murder things are also going to blow up in her face soon. Catch up on Snot Girl. There are 3 volumes that you can grab if you want to see what happened in the past. Transformers issue 17 from Image, Skybound, and Your Inner John Universe, aka the combination of Transformers and G.I. Joe. In their new world. If you haven't read this yet, basically the Transformers are, as always, here on Earth trying to figure out how to get enough of their Energon energy source back to their own place to save Cybertron, because it is in a war between the Autobots and Decepticons. But a couple of different things that we've seen here is that the Autobots are not all powerfully good in this. They seem to make a lot of mistakes, and Optimus Prime is that hardened war criminal, or war hero, I should say, who finds himself going a little too far. And in this arc, we're actually seeing him deal with a lot of that. He went too far back on Cybertron, and now he's gone too far here on Earth, and he's not really sure if he's the best person to lead the Autobots or the best person to even save the humans. But we're seeing him and the contention of his own forces kind of dealing with that both here and on Cybertron as the war continues to just grow bigger and bigger. And of course, if you're reading the Inner John Universe, you know that it is just continuing to pour into more and more books as it goes. Sacrificers issue 14 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator, aka Batastic Award, Imprint of the Year. This is such a fantastic book. I absolutely love it. And if you haven't read it yet, it is about a world where essentially the gods have decided that they could suck the souls of people up and continue to live forever off of that. And each person's family is required to create one person who is a sacrifice. And so they basically just raise them in that way. And things have gone really south for the gods as one of the sacrifices has finally decided to stand up against them. Meanwhile, we are in this issue following the story of Seluna, who is the daughter of the sun and moon gods, and she has had a hard time herself, subject to some of the very torture that the sacrifices have gone through. And now she is trying to keep young Beatrice safe, who is the sister of one of the sacrifices. But Beatrice has seen the evil that now hides within Seluna against her better judgment, is having to rely on nobody but her. And Seluna, who does not want to be evil, is fighting that in order to keep her safe, as this new group of people may be targeting the kids themselves to take over their life source. It just gets bigger and bigger and sadder, and I love that book so much. We've got Knights, issue 13 from Image Comics, recently optioned. If you are somebody who is always looking for comic books that are becoming TV shows or movie, Knights is about to get that treatment. I love to call this like a Miyazaki film if it was made in America. This is essentially a kind of its own story, though, in this, because we are going back and learning the history of the person who is in charge of the agency that's been hunting down Gray, our vampire. And what is it that led him to be so anti-vampire and so anti these like magical creatures in general, and what is his backstory? And so we get to see him being raised with his mother, and the creatures and monsters that impacted him, and how that's kind of played into the creation of this organization that's been coming after Gray all this time, and just the cruelty that he kind of runs his whole thing with. And we see there's very much that has gone into, like, you know, your own people, watching your own people get destroyed, and then feeling like you have to be the bigger bully in order to stop them before they stop you. Really interesting to see all of the different layers that have unfolded from this story, which started out in a completely different way and has just kind of morphed into a bigger and bigger story about this futuristic fantasy world. World Tree, issue 13 from Image. Issue 12 and 13 of this story have been telling us the mystery behind this woman who kind of shows up every time there's something bad going on with the Undernet. And so she is the younger sister. We have learned that she's the younger sister of our ultimate computer programmer, the guy who is supposed to be helping us by building the World Tree and stopping the Undernet. And we've never really known why she didn't talk and why she was so evil. And in the last 2 issues, we've gotten to see her first experience being connected to that. And just her overwhelming desire. You know, we see every time it shows this Undernet, this dark side of the world, that people are like changed and morphed, and most of them kind of back away from it. But what if somebody craved it? What if they wanted more of it? What would that do for them, and how sadistic of a person would they become? And we've kind of seen what that turns into for her, but we see how it all started as we read these 2 issues, and they just get really crazy as they go along. Thundercats, issue 12 from Dynamite. We've had a little pause on Dynamite books towards the end of February, but we do have a couple in here from the beginning of the month, and Thundercats is one of them. If you've been reading this, it's kind of a little bit of a reboot to the Thundercats cartoon. We saw the Thundercats themselves, their planet was destroyed, and they had to leave Thundara and go to what they call the Third Earth. And they've been building their own facilities here and kind of trying to find a way to keep themselves safe from all of the enemies at large. But unfortunately for them, they're not really necessarily doing a very good job of it. In this issue, we see Lion-O has been kidnapped. We see the mysterious stranger we met at the beginning who seemed like a spy might have more of a connection to the Thundercats and might be more of a good guy than we ever gave her credit for at the very beginning. And we see that each member of the team has kind of started to settle in maybe a little too comfortably, and they're not actually prepared for what epic darkness is coming their way. And we get a little bit of a teaser for that at the very end of this issue. And, you know, are they going to be able to find Lion-O to save them before it's too late, or save him before it's too late? I guess we should say this time. We'll see. Geiger, issue 11 from Image and the Ghost Machine imprint. This is such a bigger story than I really thought Geiger was ever going to be when it first started. And we are finally getting to see other people who are like the Glowing Man. If you haven't read Geiger yet, it's about a man named Tyreek Geiger who, after a nuclear war, is left as, you know, a glowing man, a man full of radiation. And he has been trying all of this time to find somebody who could save him and stop that cancerous radiation pouring out of him so that he could someday hopefully be reunited with his family and just be a normal person again. He's always heard rumors of somebody who was like him and had learned to control it, and now he has finally come face to face with this person, and I am very excited about her, and because she is going to be awesome. This glowing woman is so cool. Ashley Arden, we're going to get more of her story in the next issue, but she seems to be well in control of it. Surprise, surprise, a woman figured it out and was able to maintain control of her emotions. Not surprising to any of us at all, but she is running her organization much better than he has been running on his own. Meanwhile, Junkyard Joe has returned, if you know him from the original Geiger series and the Junkyard Joe series, and he seems to be having some glitches, all things that are going to connect as our unnamed heroes from all of the different unnamed universe start to come together towards this big moment that is building in Geiger and Redcoat and things to come. We've got Feral, issue 10, also from Image, and the team behind Stray Dogs. Now we're getting Walking Dead with cats, and it is exactly like that in that we are seeing those big dread moments come to reality. Recently, our cats have found their own, essentially, governor and nice place to live, with a woman who keeps them safe and helps them stay secure. But, of course, we don't trust that, and that ended up with the cats getting thrown into the basement. But the woman fell and possibly died in blocking the door of the basement, and now the cats cannot get out. And the one thing that they think maybe they can do is they might have to eat her. to get through. And as they are trying to do just that, the woman wakes up and we find out that she herself is a little rabid. And are these cats going to be safe? Are they going to be able to get out? We don't know, because she has now trapped them again in new cages and is going to take them somewhere dangerous. And who's going to save these cats? And also, did biting a woman who may be rabid herself cause them to become feral? I don't know. It's getting really intense, and I just want my little kitties to get somewhere safe, but I don't think there is anywhere safe. I mean like literally little kitties, because there are baby kitties in here that need snuggles, not rabies. And we'll see if they make it. Holy Roller, issue 9 of 9 from Image Comics, The Giant Generator, and one Andy Samberg. This is the end of the story for the Holy Roller, and what a great ending it is. If you didn't catch this book the whole way through, it is about a man who really just is embarrassed of his family and his upbringing. His dad is a local amateur bowler, and he's just always bullied by the rich kids in school. So he ends up leaving, trying to run away from home as much as possible, only to have to come home because he finds out that his dad is dying. And when he gets home, he finds out that the rich people have taken over town, and they are very racist and very terrible and are doing all kinds of awful things. And so the only thing he could possibly do is become a vigilante and bring these people down. And in this issue, as he's up against his final fight and able to try to get his moment of destroying the bad guys' plans and the bad guys, he has some very big realizations and some moments with his father that kind of lead him to maybe there's more to being a hero than just getting your own revenge and bringing your own destruction about on people, but that we have to make our own choices about who we want to be and how we want to see that future play out. And he does build out something really wonderful out of the end of this book. And so if you haven't read it yet, I definitely recommend you check it out. It starts out a little over the top, Andy Samberg, joke, but then became very heartfelt and very centered in what it wanted to be by the end. Witchblade, issue 8 from Image and the Top Cow imprint. This is kind of a relaunch of the Witchblade story, giving it a little more agency to Sarah and a little more story depth to it than we've seen in a while. And recently, Officer Sarah, our main character, has been trying to deal with the people who murdered her dad. And now that she has the power of the Witchblade, she feels like she has the ultimate ability to do that. Only to find herself in a room full of all of the people, the rich elite, who have been responsible for the death of her father, and find out that she doesn't actually control the Witchblade as powerfully as she thought she did. And maybe she's not actually the one meant to wield it. And as that leaves her with a lot of self-doubts, she finds herself face to face with a man who seems to have similar powers to her, except he relies much more, and I'm going to see if I can find that literal face-to-face, much more on the power of the darkness. Pun extremely intended, as we bring up another Image Top Cow character coming together, and we are going to see, are these two going to team up? Are they going to be enemies? Is there going to be a way that they work together, maybe even just to stop the people who are coming after Sarah? And is she really supposed to be the wielder of the Witchblade? We've got a lot of questions that are still left unanswered for that series. Epitaphs from the Abyss, issue 8 from Oni Press and the return of EC Comics. I'm going to flip this one a lot towards me because I gotta remember which stories are in which, because I have 4 anthologies. Yes. The first one is called Yellow Smoke, which is kind of a modern adaptation of the Yellow Wallpaper short story. And so it's a woman who the yellow wallpaper in her house is causing her to go crazy. Nobody believes her that there's anything wrong with it, that there's something beyond the walls. And as she starts to get further and further into that, she feels it necessary to deal with it in the way that only she could possibly manage, if nobody's going to believe her. And so we see how that continues to play out for her as she takes on this yellow wallpaper. The second story is all about Chuckles the Clown painting. It's about a couple who go to a art market, and the boyfriend is absolutely certain that they need this terrible and terrifying painting of a clown in their house. And you know what? Never buy art at really weird secondhand markets that feature clowns, because it has never worked out for anybody in any horror story ever. And I don't think it will work out for you. And then we have a story at the end about a man who gets in a car accident and is supposedly, not to blame, and yet the guilt and terror that seems to follow him leads you to think that maybe there is something that's not quite true about who is to blame in this story and who is not. And we see how that impacts him as the story goes on. So 3 really crazy stories, and I think that our creative team on that one was, again, Stephanie Phillips, Brendan Hay, and Josh Hellfield. So we've got so many people coming out to do those EC horror, EC anthologies in general. Standstill, issue 7 from Image. We are getting pretty close to the end of our Standstill story, and we're kind of seeing where this is going to go for him. But if you haven't jumped in yet, this is a story about a man who at the beginning kind of just seemed like he was on a mission of vengeance, but we didn't know why, traveling through time and taking out people that seemed to have wronged him at different times. We did eventually find out the story of what those people did to him and how he was connected to each one. But at the same time, he's kind of lost himself in all of that. And recently a friend who was not a friend the whole way through, kind of started out as an enemy, has now come to his rescue in this one and is like, hey, I've got to pull you out of this time suck that you've literally put yourself into. And he's trying to rescue him before it's too late. But unfortunately for both of them, there is somebody else in play here who also has the ability to travel through time. We're not really necessarily sure who they're targeting at this point, but they seem to be ready to take them all down. And we've got 1 issue left to see if these 2 can get out of their time troubles, or if it's just going to slip away from them. Free Agents, issue 7 from Image. This is Kurt Busiek doing another superhero story. Been kind of a while since we've seen like an indie superhero story from him, but this is all about a group of people who are from a different dimension, and they fought this massive war, and they finally won, and they ended up here on Earth, and they were like, great, we can take a break. But suddenly their superior shows up again, and he's like, no, you're not on a break. We need to be prepared. We need to go after all these things. And he finds this woman called the Collector, who has all of this stuff, and he's like, we have to go because she's using all of this stuff for nefarious gain. And so they break in, and they're stealing all this stuff. But a couple of the agents have actually figured out that it might very well be their leader that is the corrupt one. And as they're in this place and stealing all of this stuff, they realize that the stuff that they're taking seems to be all very well targeted, and they're kind of getting nervous that something is going on that they're not being told the truth about, and we're going to see exactly what that is as this unfolds. This does have potentials to connect to our Radiant Black universe. We've seen a little bit of a clip of that like possibly happening, but nothing ever again. So I know some people were like, oh no, is that going to be like another massive title and I need to be prepared for it? So far, no. Gotcha Man, issue 7 from Mad Cave. The Science Ninja team is trying to do their best to protect the world from Galactor, and all of the evils that he brings. And in this issue, we're kind of just seeing some teen drama play out, because we have a new martial artist that just happens to be like the world's greatest martial artist, and the professor wants to bring him in to train the team on some new moves. But Joe, who's always kind of our guy that thinks he knows better than everybody else in all of these issues, is very upset about the fact that they think somebody needs to come and train him, and he is adamant that he doesn't need a training, and his hot-headedness leads him in the middle of battle to making some wrong choices that may actually cause some demise for the Science Ninja team. So this one leaves us on a cliffhanger for an immediate follow-up as soon as we come into the next issue, but let's see if the team's able to work it out. Hello Darkness, issue 7 from Boom Studios. another great horror anthology, pull in some great stories for us, and I'm going to open it up. Oh yes, this was our Valentine's Day issue. So the first issue is all about a serial killer just kind of stalking different teenagers out at like the lake and doing all of that. We kind of see a slasher that is trying to show somebody how much he cares. And then in the second story, we get the story of a man whose wife dies, and he's trying to get back into the swing of things, and he joins an online dating site and finds a woman who looks and sounds exactly like his wife. And when that starts to freak him out a little too much, he decides that he needs to end that relationship. But not everybody wants to let go, and the things that come his way don't come easily. And then we have another story about a woman who has lost her love and is worried that she'll never see him again. And when he shows up and they are having this beautiful moment, she doesn't want to lose it at the cost of whatever may come her way. And then lastly, we have the story of a woman who her husband seems to be lacking the stuff inside of him that he needs, and maybe there's something horrible inside of him, and she wants to help him figure that out. And so she takes him to the doctor, and they are able to build back better for all of them. All right, up next, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 7. I am going to say, I didn't get to start at the beginning with Sophie Campbell's, like, the long-running Ninja Turtles that came before this, and so I'm very happy that I'm starting at the beginning now. And this is kind of my last Ronin, because I really wanted a Donatello-focused story, and this is giving me that in Jason Aaron's story. And so basically, if you haven't read the new Ninja Turtles yet, they all started out, all 4 brothers, separated and very much hating each other. And Donatello's kind of snapped. He's kind of lost it. He doesn't really have, he seems to not be all there. He's actually carrying around a dead rat that he believes to be Master Splinter. And he's trying to get all of his brothers back together again, and they just refuse to work together. You know, Raph's got his bad attitude. Mikey feels like nobody cares about him. Leo is mad that he didn't live up to expectations and can't keep the brothers together. And now they're back in New York, and they are considered the most wanted by the mayor, who is running the Foot Clan and a very bad person. And the guys just can't seem to get it together, and Donatello will break your heart in every single issue with his narration and the beautiful way that he speaks of his brothers and to his brothers, and just his brokenheartedness. And I just want to hug him. So Donatello, I love you, and I'm here for hugs and snuggles anytime, my turtle dude. But please read it, it's so good. Flash Gordon, issue 6 from Mad Cave. One of the moments we've been expecting, if you've been reading the story, is finally come. Flash Gordon is betrayed by Ming. Again, as always. They are trying to find the tools that they need to save Dale, to regain Ming's power, to get the bad guys who have imprisoned both of them, held responsible for what it is. And they go to like Ming's secret vault, and of course he immediately traps Flash and is like, haha, just kidding, we weren't allies at all. And Flash has to figure out his way out of Ming's prison that he has built for him. And Ming is like, hey, just kidding, everybody, like, Flash is gonna meet us later, he's totally coming, it's totally fine, we're all team Flash Gordon, right? There's some more things that happen towards the end of this issue that reveal that Ming and Flash are going to have more on their plate than either of them was expecting to deal with. But the adventure is only getting bigger, and time is running out if we're going to save Dale. So Flash needs to step up his game. He's gotten a little too trusting. The Moon is Following Us, issue 6 from Image Comics. All right, another one of those books, like, when you get your tissues out to read Ninja Turtles, just keep them around for this one, because you're just going to have an emotional pain the whole time in another beautiful way. This is the story of a man and a woman whose daughter has ended up in a coma. She's possibly dying, and they are trying to save her. And the way they've done that is they have taken in this stranger who's told them, like, I can take you to her imaginary world within her brain, and I can use that to help you pull her back out and save her. Only they were double-crossed, and this is not what is happening, and these people may be dying themselves now, and there is no way, they have not gotten any closer to saving their child, and it's like, we might be stuck here forever in our child's imagination, and she might die, and we may die with her, and what do we do? And they have nothing else to do but rely on her biggest fears. And maybe it's our fears that make us strong enough to survive when we're in the darkest of places. And there's not many issues left of this, but it's going to end amazingly no matter how it goes. If you're reading Transformers and you're enjoying Daniel Warren Johnson's storytelling, if you liked his art on the first volume, any of those things, you definitely need to read this, because it is all Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo just making a very beautiful story. The Power Fantasy, issue 6 from Image Comics. This is your Wicked and Divine team coming back with a strong, massive story of superhero greatness in a way that only you would expect only them to tell. They have built a new universe of superheroes who are not good people, much like Wicked and Divine, where we see that every god is flawed. We see that again here. And as they've kind of come to this point, we have a couple different problems. One of them being that Magus, who is a magician kind of character, he's aligned himself with the government and is trying to take out all of the other supers because he wants to get all of the power for himself. He is a total tool and has a cult of his own, and is just not doing anybody any favors. But none of the other superpowered people necessarily work well together. And the one Etienne who can read everybody's minds is having to kind of work together to offer each of them something that will make them work as a team in the best way possible, and kind of just floating everybody into, like, we need your power of this, we need your power of that. I love the title because they all kind of have this fantasy of power and of ruling and of being something great because of what they've been given, but power is ultimately just a fantasy because nobody can ever maintain or control power. It is a figment of your imagination that kind of escapes you the more you try to grasp onto it. And Kieran Gillen is always so good at explaining that to us, and this book is definitely a great example of that. The Body Trade, issue 5 from Mad Cave. This is the wrap-up of The Body Trade. This is the story of a dad who tragically loses his young son while he's in prison, and he gets out and is trying to figure out what happened to his son, which is that he was sold into the body trade, which means that rich people just bought his son and took his body parts. And he has figured out exactly where the corporation that did that has sold his son off to, and he has gone after the man who he's told has his son. And when he gets there, he finds out exactly what that means and what this man is using it for. And it's such a double-edged sword of, he's trying so hard to go after the rich person and to go after the corporation, but does he want to cause damage to somebody else in the same way that they caused to him, is kind of the situation that he finds himself in. And the conclusion to this goes in a very interesting way to see, but it's definitely interesting to see, like, this ultimate thing of this corporation being this just bad guy that he has to go after, and them doing whatever they want and not following regulations. Not really surprising. Knoll Hunter, issue 5 from Image Comics. This is a cyberpunk retelling of Hercules, 7 Labors, essentially. And in this one, Hercules is working, he's been sent out to a place where he must, get a drill working again and convince this people group of this planet that they have to join the Olympian universe, whatever you want to call them. And he has he's fixed the drill and is now meeting with the family, the king of this place, and he's like, hey, the rules are, I can't get you to sign off, or they won't sign off on me completing this labor unless you sign off this paper that says you'll join the union. And the guy's like, I can't do that. I can't. And he's like, well, but I'm going to fix your thing. And he fixes the thing. And it just kind of goes back and forth. And he doesn't agree with the Olympians himself, but he's trying so hard to like save his family and get his own freedom that he's kind of put himself in this spot where he's having to do all of their dirty work. And the work gets very dirty in this issue. And we see that sometimes that corruption can spread to other people very quickly. And it's not what he wants in any way, shape, or form, but he is kind of the hand that leads it throughout the galaxy at this point. Corvus, issue 5, From Dead Sky. This book has really expanded into a big story and way more than I kind of expected when I first read that first issue. And I love seeing where this is going. But basically, we're following a team of people who are stuck in space, and they are kind of a ragtag team that were chosen from a very weird, kind of almost hilarious way that you'll have to find out when you read it. But they are trying to figure out how they can save the Earth. And down on our planet, there's this like toxic gas that's now coming over the entire planet that's causing people to just kind of take each other out and themselves out, and it's getting very violent, and the community is dying very quickly. And they realize that there's this planet that they see the similar fog and smoke on, and so they go to it and try to see if there's something that has survived there that can help them. And when they meet the people of that planet, they're like, yes, we did defeat this evil that is attacking you, but no, we will not help you. We've lost too much of our own people, and we can't be responsible for what happens to yours. And they kind of have to figure out a way to build them an alliance, because otherwise the entirety of Earth is going to die, and having it all on them is such a big thing, and they are really losing it as they try to put it all together. Prairie Gods, issue 5, From Mad Cave. This is a great horror sci-fi kind of anthology that is all about this one area of a town over throughout history and all of the weird stuff that's happened in it. And in this issue, we see a pilot who is flying a plane, and while he's in the process of doing that, there is a storm, and he gets in an accident, and that plane crashes, and we see him trying to survive through this wooded area that he's landed in, and kind of talking about all the different things that he saw when he was flying and all the different places. And you'll kind of recognize a lot of it if you've been reading the Prairie Gods anthologies so far. And we get to see, some people come for him and try to rescue him and try to send him to where maybe they can help him. But we learn there's something special about these people, and there's something special about where he is. And if you know Prairie Gods, nothing is ever as it seems in this town. And what he discovers is really cool, but I don't want to spoil any of it for you. Toxic Avenger, issue 5, from Ahoy Comics and our good buddy Matt Bors. This is, as always, fantastic. We've been watching the cartoon at night every night since I read this, because I've been so excited, and Matt loves the cartoon, so we've just been like having a moment reliving it. But if you haven't read this yet, it's kind of a little reboot of the Toxic Avenger story. We see how Toxie himself, how Melvin becomes Toxie. We get our ragtag team of people who have all been impacted by the toxic spill in Traumaville, and I love that Matt has made this into a thing where the government is trying to cover it up, and these corporations are trying to hide what they're doing, and they've hired the bullies to be their spokespeople, and now Toxie and the bullies are having it out in this issue. They are trying to go after these bugs that are taking over. They're going after the bullies. They're just trying to save their town and keep it safe. And we see Toxie team up with a group of people who hopefully can help him do just that as this issue comes to a close. This is not the end of Toxic Avenger. There is more to come, some that has been announced already. So if you haven't seen those announcements of things to come for Toxic Avenger and his friends, you definitely need to check out Ahoy's Instagram for all those announcements. But this universe is just getting started, and it is going to be great. Great combination of all of the Toxie properties kind of coming together into a new story in this amalgam. The Long Road to Retribution, issue 4, from Blood Moon. Dude, this book, oh my gosh. Okay, so this is the story of like a prison in space, and basically every couple years. No, it's a year. Every year they send like different guards up there, and there's only 2 guards in the prison, and basically like they're up there for the year, and at the end of their term they just get a list of people and they just jettison them into space, and then new prisoners arrive and new guards arrive to like take over those. Well, one of the cops that's come has actually chosen to be up here on purpose because his sister was killed by one of the people that's in this prison, and he has been on a vengeance mission. And now the other cop is stuck in space with essentially nobody but psychopaths because his partner is a psychopath trying to take down anybody in his way of getting to this guy. And so it's like, what's going to happen? Meanwhile, all the prisoners are trying to figure out who's going to be like king of the hill in the prison. And there is so much that is unfolding. And we are still on like the first couple of hours of being stuck in space. This guy's like, I got a year here. Like, how am I going to make it? The system isn't kind of working. They get knocked off of orbit. All kinds of stuff is going on. This book just gets wild. Who knows? Who knows if anybody's gonna make it out. It's crazy. Lost in space with prisoners. Wild. Hour of the Wolf, issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is the wrap up of Hour of the Wolf, which is kind of a part of our underworld universe that they're building out at Mad Cave. And this does kind of also have a lot of harken back to Wolvenheart, which is one of the original Mad Cave titles. This is about a woman whose husband has this painting that he's obsessed with. It is dark and creepy, and something bad happens to her husband, and she is now trying to get rid of this painting. And she finds herself sucked into the painting, and the only person that can help her out is a man who is a part of the Wolvenheart Society, and they are trying to face this ultimate evil inside of there, and they only have so much time before they themselves are stuck in this painting as well. And so they have been working their way through personal torments and experiences as they try to get out of this painting. Meanwhile, her daughter is left alone with the painting, and the children that were in the painting are now out of the painting, and what is going to happen to them and where that is going to go, I have a feeling we don't even know yet. Check it out. A fun little Mad Cave thing, and hopefully it leads us to more Wolvenheart because I love that series. Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac, issue 4 from Dark Horse. This is the wrap-up of this arc, I believe, leading us to hopefully another arc. Let me make sure that's true and I'm not lying to you. Yeah. Hopefully this leads us to even more. It has to, because we're still not through. There's still more story to tell. But if you don't know, Where Monsters Lie is all about every serial killer and like monster from every horror movie, all living in a suburb, trying to just fall in line with what goes on. In this volume, they have brought in the cop from the previous volume because he is connected to one of the serial killers, and his fiance is pregnant. And our woman in charge of the HOA, this ultimate evil witch lady, is trying to get the baby for herself so that she can use it to start her life over again and live even more lives as a serial killer and a psychopath. And she's trying so hard to make that happen, and it is the ultimate battle in this issue, so you're going to have to read to see what she figures out from that. But meanwhile, at the same time, we see one of the kids from the original arc has kind of made his own home with some of these serial killers, and is just trying to find a place where he belongs. And I hope that he does, and I hope that we see another volume of this fantastic book as it continues to unfold what could become. G.I. Joe, issue 4 from Image, Skybound, and Your Inner John universe. In this side of the story, we are seeing Deathstroke and Cobra from the G.I. Joe world trying to get their hands on all of the Inner John from the Transformers world so that they could use it to make ultimate weapons that could help them control the world. Deathstroke, being an arms dealer, is just trying to get his hands on as much as possible, but that means he has to work for Cobra, who he doesn't trust. The Baroness has teamed up with the Joes, and they are trying to fight them. In this issue, they have been battling them, and it's not necessarily working the way they want to, so they figure maybe they need to try some different strategies, and that might lead to them getting stuck with Cobra, and we're going to see how that plays out. Joe says he has an idea. or Duke, I should say, says he has an idea for the Joes and why they're there, but we're going to figure out if these guys are ever going to stop Cobra as the time goes on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation issue 4 from IDW. This actually ends where issue 1 picks up. So it's kind of like a little bit of a like go back in time once you realize that's where you are at the end. But there are 2 stories in here. The first is Raphael, and he is trying to save his buddy Pepperoni, which is a cute little cuddly buddy, who has been kidnapped. And so he's in Las Vegas and he's fighting some bad guys, and he's got some allies that he releases and is able to use as a way to fight against the people attacking Pepperoni. And we also see that this may lead to some of the big things that are coming to play into the Ninja Turtles proper. The second story in the book has been following Casey Jones, who has been trying to figure out what's going on with Karai, who is supposed to be in charge of the Foot Clan, but has lost herself to some dark, evil demon entity that is rotting her brain. And Casey realizes that the only thing he's going to be able to do is to go back to New York and take over fighting those Foot himself, because something has gone wrong, and all of the kind of allies, treaties they put in place have been destroyed. So we'll see how that comes into play. We're kind of already seeing it in Turtles, so it's kind of like a tie-in. Mingy Woodcock, the girl called Cthulhu. This is issue 4. This is from Titan Comics and the hard case stories. I love the Minky Woodcock books. They're always so, this says it best, sexy, spunky, and full of crime, which is fantastic. It's also really hard to show you a lot of the interior art, which is a shame because it's always so beautiful, but there's always something racy. In this book, Minky Woodcock has been investigating a mystery. It started out with her kind of working with Lovecraft on it, but then she kind of goes off on this other mission, which is to find out what happened to a friend's brother. He was killed in action, and his body was never, brought back, and they've been trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, Aleister Crowley is really just up in Minky's face and trying to tell her that her parents were involved in all of his, weird occult stuff, and he's off after her for some weird reason, and she is trying to hold off whatever it is that he is planning to do, and she ends up caught by him and in a mess of trouble, and she's having to rely on some allies she's made along the way, and she does figure out exactly what is going on with the body that went missing, but only to find out that there is a much bigger mystery and a much bigger adventure. And I'm not going to show you too much because, again, spoilers, and also because I can't. But check it out because it has some of the most beautiful arts in comics, honestly. Red Before Black issue 4 from Boom Studios. Also Dr. Stephanie Phillips. I told you, she's been writing all the books, all the places. This is great. This is about a woman who was in prison and was released and comes back and is having to work her way back into the organization that she was a part of. She's also undercover because that's kind of the terms that she got to be released, but she's got to prove herself, and the way they want her to do that in order to get let back is they're like, hey, you have to kill this girl who stole money from the org. Well, she doesn't. In fact, she's on the run with this girl now, and they have gone to a friend of hers who she calls Scooter, who's supposed to help keep them safe. And she's like, you can always trust your people who are like the family you built. And they think that they're going to be safe hiding out in this alligator Everglades, but you know what? You can never trust anybody in a crime family. And even though Leo really wants to believe that, she's built her own place and she's got allies and things like that, it's just a mess of double crosses after double crosses after double crosses in the story. And we are going to figure out if these girls can learn to work together, and if they can stop the whatever it is that's going down. We'll see. Hornsby and Halo, issue 4 from Image Comics and our Ghost Machine imprint. This is such a fun book. It's just one of those classic tales, and I'm so excited about it. But this is all about a little girl and a little boy who find themselves coming of age in the worst way possible. Our little girl is actually secretly a demon, even secret to herself. She had no idea. Our young boy is an angel who has no idea. That both of them are supposed to bring about the essential destruction of the world. And they have been sent to live on Earth with families that would nurture them to be the opposite of what they were supposed to be. So she has the best family in the world. He has the worst family in the world. And as they are reaching their birthday, they are finding themselves coming into these powers they didn't know they had. And somehow that keeps drawing them closer and closer together. Now they are finding themselves fighting a horde of zombies who seem very upset about something that they want back. And it turns out that only the two of them can figure it out and stop whatever it is that's causing these zombies, but it's going to take a little bit of their power that they didn't know they had, which is only going to open them up to some kind of darkness that's coming their way, and we're going to figure what that is in the next issue, I have a feeling. So jump into that adventure now. Hexiles issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is basically what would happen if your parents sold your soul to the devil, and you found out you had a bunch of siblings because of it. Because we have a man who wanted to have all of the goodness in the world and everything he ever wanted at the palm of his hand, so he just kept having children and selling their souls to the devil. Now all of those kids are adults and their dad is dead. They met at his funeral and found out that they all have special powers that are just different for each one of them, but they're also all sworn to the darkness, and so they are trying to get their way out of it. And the way that they do that is they end up getting together and trying to go to this place where they're told that they can kind of like stop their alignment with it, only to find out that the demons are already aware of the fact that they're going there, and they expect them to commit themselves to the deal that was made on their behalf. Can they stop these evil demons? Can they get their lives back? Or are they just going to give in? We're starting to see a couple of people start to make some choices, but it gets really dark at the end of this issue. I know, it sounds like it should have been dark the whole time, but it gets really dark at the end. Calavera P.I. issue 4 from Oni Press. This wraps up Calavera for us, at least for now. This is the story of a detective who is always trying to do his best to help the people of his community. And in issue 1, he is actually killed in the line of duty, but he is brought back in issue 2, actually in issue 1, to come back as a skeleton and start saving, to continue the work that he was doing to save people. And he is fighting in this issue against a woman who is trying to curve that line between the dead and the living so that she can bring her own son back, and she's going to do it at the expense of all of the children of the community, and only Calavera can cross between these worlds and fight this woman and save the day. And how that plays out for him, I don't want to spoil, so I'm not going to show you the second half of the book. Juvenile, issue 3 from Image Comics. This is all about I totally mixed up the threes. This doesn't go here, but it's okay. This is all about a world where teenagers have superpowers, and it scares adults that teenagers have any sort of power at all the time, not even in comic books, just in real life. And so they have created a world where they kind of just lobotomize all teenagers or put them on like prescription drugs so that they never know that they have powers. But a young boy has discovered that they do and stopped taking his pills, and he has opened that world up to another girl. And now they have recently started exploring their powers only to get caught by the people in the asylum that they've been in. And he is forced back into the situation and is like forced to lose his knowledge of everything that's going on. And so now she's on her own, and she realizes that in order to stop these adults from controlling the teenagers, that she is going to have to tell everybody else that they have powers and see who trusts her and who's going to actually fight back against the adults. Okay, I lied to you. We're not at the threes. We've got a couple more fours to go. Apparently, I just put that one in the wrong spot. We have FML issue 4 from Dark Horse. I love this book so much, and I never thought I would be at a point in life where I'd be like, I love this book because I love the parent, and I just love the way that they deal with everything. But like this book's parent, this mom in this book is just absolutely amazing, and if this is what Kelly Sue DeConnick is as a mom, I want her to adopt me. But this is basically the story of a teenager who finds themselves going through puberty and becoming a giant monster. Obviously an allegory for the fact that you just become a giant rage monster when you're going through puberty. And the teenager and their friends are in a band, and they really just want to be cool and perform at this awesome experience. And on their way home from their performance to try to make it in this battle of the bands, they find a dead body. And now in this issue, they are being accused of being murderers, or at least suspects, persons of interest. Now the mom is, of course, just happens to be a crime writer who's supposed to be at a convention for being in true crime, and is somehow also connected to this whole situation, but is also just a mess, and is just trying to live her life and be a good parent and take care of them. And she just wants to make her comics and her graphic novels or whatever and just be a good parent, and she's just struggling, and the teenagers are struggling, and now there's murder involved, and everybody is a mess. And the dad comes home, and it's just this amazing family story of everybody trying to solve who's what, where, how, why, and what's going to happen. And I just want to hug everybody in this story and tell them it's going to be okay. And maybe we'll solve a murder mystery while we're at it, and then play some really cool music. It's awesome. Check it out. I knew that was going to happen eventually. I'm going to take a drink of wine.
You talk too long without taking a breath.
I know. If you didn't know, one of the reasons we didn't have a show was because I didn't have a voice 2 weeks ago. So we're trying to put it all back together, including me. So we're going to keep going. There's so many books that Matt decided to take them away from me. Woo! Woo! All right. Carlisle School for Kings, issue 4 from Dark Horse. I'm going to put that... Woo! It's going to take a minute. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Woo! I love this book, too. This has been so much fun. This is the story of a girl. I always want to sing it when I say that. This is the story of a girl whose parents were high up in the kingdom. And she found out that they were killed for being traitors to the king, but she's always believed that was not true, and that there's no way that her parents would have ever been a part of that. Thank you so much, sir. And so she has been on a vengeance quest her whole life. Well, now every time it's time to choose a new king, they bring the teenagers who are part of the royal families to the helm, and they have to fight for becoming the new king and do all of these challenges, which is really, really cool. But she's just going to use it as a way to kill the king, and doesn't really care about becoming the king herself, except as she's doing these challenges, she's actually really good at it, and so maybe she should be the new king. In this issue, she actually makes big strides towards her goal, and I'm not going to tell you what those are, but I am going to drink some water.
A lot of books.
It's a lot of books. Woo! And a lot of talking that I haven't done in a really long time. So, all right. Doll Parts, issue 3. Now we're really at the threes. This is also from Image Comics. Sorry for coughing in all of your faces. This is a connection to Love Sick, which came out last year. This is kind of the origin story of our main character, who eventually becomes a woman who runs a very mature Red Room situation. And this is her as a teenager, and we kind of see her dealing with parents that don't love her. And in this issue, we actually see her learning that, her parents did not want her, that they thought she was an abomination, they thought she was terrible. And so she's put herself in this place where she's gone into these chat rooms. This is the early day of chat rooms, and she's crossed a line and kind of became somebody that these adult men are now chasing after, and bad things are happening. And it turns out in this issue that she's really tired of feeling like nobody loves her except for all of the wrong people, and feeling like all of the right people don't care about her. And so she kind of just wants to take control of her own life. And if that means that she's going to have to become somebody who would kill to protect herself, she's willing to do that. Which is very important, because there are a lot of people who are trying to kill her now. And so this is very mature. Not as mature as Lovesick, but definitely like leading the way. And a murder occurs in this book that kind of sets her on a path that is going to lead us towards Lovesick in the future. Rockefellers from Ghost Machine. This another one of those great books. This is such a great family story. Ghost Machine is just, every book is so good from them. And this is something that just makes me happy every time I read it. But this is about a family who is from the future, and they are being chased by some very bad people, and so they have to escape them. And the way they do that is they come back to our time period. And so now they're living in the 2024, 2025 kind of time period, 2020s. And they're just trying to have a normal life, but they're not normal people, and so they're having to kind of try to figure out how to oh, I'm gonna cough a lot now, be a part of our world. Whew. And so in this issue, they're finally getting to talk to the people from the future, which is the brother of the dad, and figure out who is chasing them and whether or not they're going to be able to make it back to the future ever. But we're starting to see cute little stories develop. And somebody is going to get us in a lot of trouble in the now, which is going to put a target on our backs for the future. Family drama, fantastic. We're going to see where this goes.
You okay? We have to cut it?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. I'm good. We're almost there. We're not almost there. That's a lie. We're halfway there. All right. We've got Living Hell issue 3, also from Dark Horse, I believe. This is the story of a guy who was a god, and basically when they decided there was one true god, all of the other gods were turned into demon-type characters. They were forced to just be humans and try to live their life right. And now there is people who are coming around trying to collect all of those demons and send them back to the hell that they're putting them in. And so each time somebody is chosen to be a soul collector whenever the previous one dies. And our main character, who has tried to go under the radar all this time, finds himself currently the soul collector. He's lost everything except for his daughter, who recently learned the truth about her dad and herself as well, and learns that she is also starting to exhibit some of these powers. And so he never wanted that for her. Lots of things are coming, and some names come up on his list that are going to drastically change everything for the future. I'm really nervous about the next issue. I don't want all the bad things to happen. Flavor Girls, issue 3 from Boom Studios. This is Sailor Moon, 100% just Sailor Moon, except instead of having moon planets that they're named after, they all kind of have like a food that they take from. In this issue, I love these books because it's always double size, but in this issue, two of the girls have gone, all of the girls have gone home for vacation, and one of the girls, Viv, has gone with Sarah to her home, and she's always been very standoffish and not very friendly with Sarah, and Sarah's just been like, I don't understand why you're so angry, and why you can't just be my friend. A couple of alien people attack the world, and they are struggling to fight this battle because they don't want to work together, because Viv just cannot work with the team, and she finally has to come to terms with whatever it is in her past isn't enough to stop her from being a good hero and a good ally for the future. And so the two have to learn to work together in all new ways in this issue, and we get to see some really cool powers open up, and I'm excited to see how that comes into play for the future of the Flavor Girls. Spectrum, issue 3 from Mad Cave. What a beautiful book this is. Good God. I love it so much, and yet I still always feel like I have no idea what is happening in the best way possible. But this is a story of a girl who finds herself stuck in an epic battle that she doesn't really understand in issue 1, but issue 2 introduces us to another girl who got dragged into the battle, and issue 3 introduces us to a man who has always hidden behind his camera, has never really been a part of anything, never takes credit for anything that he is a part of, and just kind of wants to be this photographer that captures life, and he is dragged into our epic war, essentially, that is happening, that we're sort of starting to barely see unfold. And so he's brought into that. I love this, like, almost like Where's Waldo, like pinpointing each of them, as they all connect in this one central point, and they are found by a group of people who are like, hey, we're from the Alliance that is here to protect you. We're fighting this war. You guys have to join us. And they take them to this, essentially this church to hide away, and they get to see this performer perform music, and it kind of just changes everything for all of them. They see these different points in their life, and these different things that they've become, and these different things they could have been, and just you kind of see the power of music and how it can change everything and everyone. And this whole book, that's all it is. It's just been about music and its power and the way it works through time and through us. And it's just, I want to see where this epic war type thing takes us, but I just also want this book to just keep introducing new characters that I love. Welcome to the Maynard, issue 3 from Dark Horse. What a fun little book this has continued to be. I love Pip as a character, made our list of characters we'd want to be friends with last year. But this is all about a hotel that's for magical people, and Pip, who is half magical, gets to work there as bellhop and also a secret undercover detective. Pip has been working there at secret. Her partner does not know about this, and in this issue we actually see their partner trying to follow them to figure out like where they're going and what they're hiding from them, because Pip's not allowed to talk about the magical world to the outside world. We also see that like how magical duels are handled in this world, because two people try to fight, and that is held off in different ways. But we know that there is somebody who is after one of the great magicians, and is stealing all these items, and there may be somebody like who's coming after them. Honestly, it's like an Agatha Christie novel in a magical world, turned into just like a fun, exciting adventure. And I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Our detective seems to be getting a little closer, but we seem to be getting a little further all at the same time. And as Pip makes a new friend, it may lead to even more problems with their partner in the real world. I love it. Definitely check it out. It's just a lot of fun. Seriously, it's like an Agatha Christie novel. Synap issue 3 from Mad Cave. This is our big sci-fi book from Mad Cave right now. Well, one of two big sci-fi books from Mad Cave, I should say. But this is all about a world where we have these people who are called like drivers, and they basically drive these mech suits, and they're kind of used until they run them up, and they just don't actually have any kind of like health plan or contingency plan for these people after they use them up. And there is a young girl who is trapped inside of the connection, and they are determined to go get her and bring her back because she could be a really great driver and ally for them. But they are sending 2 past drivers to go pick her up, and they are at odds with each other because they've both been through it before, and they've both come out on the other side very, very damaged and broken, and now they are having to go in and try to save this little girl together, and it's bringing up all of these hurt feelings. And meanwhile, we have our current driver who just can't seem to get it under control, and there's something haunting him within the system, and we're going to see more about what that is as the story unfolds. Assassin's Apprentice, Volume 3, Issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is such a big story. Every time I read it, I feel like I just read a full novel because there's so much to it. But it is about a young boy who is the illegitimate child of a prince who has been gifted with this ability to talk to people through their minds. And for him, it kind of manifests more for him talking to animals. Because he is an illegitimate child, he cannot be a prince or a king, but he can be an assassin and work undercover for these people. And so they've been training him for years to do just that. And now his time has really kind of come up. He's working with the princes in the different ways, and they need him to go and actually just take someone out. And every time he's ever done it, it's been somebody who's been a threat to the kingdom, but this time it's like kind of just a threat to their power and the power that they want to get, and he's not sure how he feels about that. Meanwhile, it turns out that his power is stronger than anybody ever knew, and he is learning that there may be more to that and what is required of him as somebody who could protect the entire kingdom with that power. Dust to Dust, Issue 3 from Image and the Giant Generator. this is a fantastic story, and it's really just slowly unfolding, and I love slow-moving sense of dread stories, and this one's definitely building that tension. This is about the Dust Bowl and a small town, and a woman has come that's a photographer, and she's trying to just kind of capture the Dust Bowl, but while she's doing that, she's working with the sheriff, and she is privy to a lot of things that are happening, including the fact that a family of farmers who were leaving town have been found out in the middle of nowhere, and all that's left of them is bones, and it's as if their whole thing caught on fire, but like there's no reason for there to be a fire, and there's nothing that leads to believe that a fire was set in anything, so they can't figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, the sheriff tries to bring the coroner and the mayor out to figure out what's going on, and they're like, the mayor's like, I don't want anybody to know. There's enough going on with this Dust Bowl. We don't need people to be afraid of the town even more than they already are. Like, don't say anything. And then he is trying to convince the woman that's a photographer that she needs to forget everything she saw. Meanwhile, obviously, there's a murderer afoot, and he is doing things, and we need to figure out what those things are. And bad things are happening in this town, and nobody knows what they are, and they seem to come with the dust, and I want to know, but I also want you to just keep taking your time, J.G. Jones, because this book is so good, and I want it to just roll on forever. In Bloom, issue 3 from Boom Studios. We are getting some crazy sci-fi alien stories recently, and this is another one. In this world, basically everybody eventually blooms, and they literally become like flowers or plants or something. And we have a detective who's very against the bloom and very against all of that, and he's trying to figure out like what's going on in all these secret societies and all the bad things that they're doing on the down low, and he's like trying to deal with that. And so in this issue, he's like works himself into a secret society area, and come to find out that like he's like gonna get exposed to like the ultimate people who bloom, and kind of learn for us the exposition of what blooming means and where it came from and what all these people are after. And we learn that he's got his own problems. He is all about aggression and anger, and it hides within him, and he's not sure where that's going to lead him, but it's got him trapped in a very dark place right now, and we're going to see where that goes. And is he ever going to bloom, or is he devoid of the power? Barstow, issue 3 from Dark Horse. This is very like King of Nowhere weird, if you ever read that, but this is all about a woman who is a detective who is trying to figure out what happened to her partner, the detective from the FBI who went missing, investigating something going on in this town. And in this issue, we finally figure out what exactly happened to that partner. But we're also seeing that this town is filled with human trafficking of demons. Basically, they are putting demons inside of bodies and using that as a way to get these demons out and into the world. And the woman in charge is got some big plans going on right now, and she is not happy with the fact that these FBI agents are swarming around and getting in her way. Meanwhile, we've got another guy who's got a demon in him, and he's dealing with some stuff on his own. We've got some people who are making deals to get demons inside of them. There's a lot unfolding in this town, and we're going to see if our detective can put it all together before these demons take over. And what happens to her partner, you're going to find out in this issue. Borderlands, Moxie's Mysterious Memento, issue 3 of 4 from Dark Horse. If you are a fan of the Borderlands video game, this is a great comic for you to be reading. They've just recently brought all these Borderlands comics back after the show. But in this one, we are on a mission to try to figure out what happened to a mysterious person that Moxie was having a relationship with, and the memento that he stole from her and took with him. We have come to a point where we have finally figured out how to find the person. And when they do, they figure out that there is more to this little memento than they knew, and there is a big mystery that is going to unfold as that does as well. And we're going to see exactly how that can dangerously play out for everybody in the final issue. Christmas 365, issue 3 from Dark Horse. This has been such a a fun book of craziness. This is all about a family. The dad's kind of lost touch with all of his family, and the only way he can think of is that to bring back Christmas, and not just one day of the year, but every day of the year. And so every season he uses Christmas as the theme for that holiday, and has turned his entire family's house backyard into a theme park. And they sell tickets and bring everybody in, and it's gone crazy. Well, the neighbors have decided that they want to make money and they want to take this from him, and so now there's like this epic war between neighbors, and the teenage kids of these two parents date each other, and so now they have like this Romeo and Juliet kind of relationship going on. Well, as always, when things blow up on the internet, people want to make money off of it, and so these YouTubers who come in and try to like just exploit shows and family drama have come and decided that they're going to make them build something together to see if they can build the ultimate Christmas experience, and if they can work together on it, and they want the show money and the drama, and he's hoping this is a way to get like his kids out and, free and happy and maybe be done with this forever. But it is tearing the family apart, and we're going to see exactly how badly as this keeps going. Parliament of Rooks, issue 3 from Ablaze. This is a beautifully done story every time. I love to look at it. But this is all about a man who finds himself turning into a giant crow. He has been possessed essentially by this bird spirit that is coming and taking over him. And he is in love with the princess of the town, who we find out may have some soothing powers special to her from her own upbringing and who she truly is. That may be the only thing that can calm this beast. But in this issue, he kind of loses it entirely, and all of the stuff that is building inside of him, and all the darkness that is overwhelming him from this Parliament of Rooks that follows him, just really leads him down a dark path. And is she going to be able to save him and pull him out of it? And is there any hope for him? Is something we're going to discover. This was actually originally released digitally and was an Eisner nominee for how good it was, and it definitely deserves all of the attention and praise that it got. We've got The Brood, issue 3 from Dark Horse, and The World of Minor Threats. This is from that Patton Oswald Jordan Blum World of Minor Threats. It's such a cool thing. But I love this. This is about a man whose father is the ultimate evil bad guy, like the big brain thing, and he's got all of the skills of his father, but he doesn't want anything to do with them, so he's become a police detective to be completely different. Well, the father is dying. He's called all of the siblings together, and he is determined to choose like who his successor is going to be. And of course the dad wants him, but he doesn't want anything to do with it. And his siblings are bad guys, and they're like, hello, we're right here, we'll take it. But the dad doesn't want them, of course, because he wants the one he thinks is his protege. That should be the one he takes. Well, in this issue, the son who separated himself has a wife and child, and it is the child's birthday, and the dad ends up taking a bunch of people hostage, and is basically like using the police as a way to find his son, to tell him through a hidden message that he wants to be invited to the birthday party. And so for the first time, the father the grandfather gets to meet his grandkid and his son's wife, and we see all of this opening up very angry, bitter issues within the family, and how this is going to lead to whoever takes over. We're going to find out. Long Cold Winter, issue 3 from Mad Cave. What a cool looking book this is. I love this story every time. This is all about a little robot kid who needs some help, and the one person he goes to is this peace officer who's not very peaceful, who's become like a vigilante in his own, a renegade. Renegade's a better word for him. And they're in this world that's like post-apocalyptic. You can't breathe without certain masks and things like that. And we actually get to see in this issue the kid robot's story of how he, like, what he was like in the world when there was still air. And we kind of get to see the world lose its air for the first time while he's dealing with the fact that his buddy has been injured and lost his arm. The kid needs help. He's got to get to a certain place, and if this guy can't get him there, he is not going to he's not going to make it, and nobody seems to want to let his buddy lead him along the way. And so as they get closer, it gets more and more dangerous for them. This is from the same team that brought us Love Me, so if you enjoyed that, you should definitely check it out. Hack Slash Body Bags, issue 3 from Image. If you have ever read a Hack Slash story, you know this is about Cassie Hack. She is here to take down all of the bad guys. The world of Body Bags is about a bunch of people who are bad guys. They are like, you know, people who are taking people out. They're all serial killers and things like that. This actually has the kids of the Body Bags going to a high school, and a slasher breaks into the high school and is trying to kill all the kids, and Cassie has to come in and try to save them. Of course, they don't want her help because they think that they're killers in their own right and they should be safe to be able to take care of everything on their own. But they do, in fact, need her help, and in order to survive, they're going to have to learn to fight for a good purpose and not just for themselves. They're going to have to like learn to work as a team, and we see that this is a setup for possibly having even more stories from the Hack Slash and Body Bags working together or against each other. Archaic issue 3 from Ahoy. What a great fantasy story comes to life in comic form. This is all about a woman who finds out that her father was the caretaker of an island, and that island is a mysterious magical place that once you become the caretaker of, you can never leave. And now her and her kids and her stepson are all stuck on this island, and they cannot leave. They don't know why they're there, so they don't know what's going on. There's like sphinxes and griffins and mysterious like octopus type monsters and all kinds of stuff like just coming out of the woodworks, and she is required to go meet with this goddess of death who is trapped on the island, and one of the things she has to do as a caretaker is keep this goddess trapped here forever. And she's starting to learn that there's a lot of rules to being on this island that she doesn't necessarily want to follow, but she's not going to be able to get out of it at any way, shape, or form. And that is something that none of her family is prepared for. And we're going to see what that entails as the story unfolds. Really good. If you like fantasy, but you need it to be a little like less in your face fantasy, that's actually a really good one for that. Planetary Expansion, issue 3 from Critical Entertainment. We got issues 2 and 3 in the month of February. Basically with this story, we are seeing the end of the earth, and we need to figure out a way to live in another place and get beyond like all of the wastelands that we've created. And so one group has actually kind of created one of those Ark type spaceships. They're going to take a bunch of people out. People were chosen. People were allowed to choose. Well, while they're doing that, somebody comes on the ship in this issue and is like, hey, I'm taking over. We're going to take this whole ship. You're not going to get to run it. I'm going to run it. You're not going to get to do any of the things you want. And they're like, oh my God, we have to take off right now if we're going to get there. And so even though they have all the family members on the ship there to say goodbye to the people who chose to do it, they are like, that's it, we have to take off. And so they lock all the gates and they just take off. And all of these other people who didn't sign up to go on this mission are now stuck on this ship and aren't going to be able to get off ever. And it's like, oh my gosh, are we going to have enough food? Are we going to have enough places for people to stay? Are we ever going to be able to get out of here? Who knows? We're all headed for space, and it's about to be a big, giant mess. And I cannot wait to see what goes down. Cruel Kingdom, issue 2 from EC and Oni Press. This is their fantasy sword and sorcery set of stories anthology that we've got going on. The first one in here is about a guy who wants to be that ultimate knight who can never die, and he receives a weapon that like he can make that wish on, and he gets his wish. He can never die, but he doesn't wish to not ever be injured, and it does not go the way he thinks it's going to go. And then in our second story, oh my gosh, he looks so crazy. In our second story, we see a town that's trying to burn a witch at the stake, and she's saved by witches who decide that she's actually not one of them, and they also try to like go after her because they're like, oh, we only saved you because we thought you were really a witch, and if you're not really a witch, we're going to take you out. And they learn a very quick lesson of that themselves. And then the last one is called Seed of Power, and it's about two brothers who want to figure out how they can take over for their dad, who's been the king forever, and they never get to see him sitting on the throne, and they never get to be a part of any conversations. And one day they get their wish to take over, and they do not like what it means to sit on the throne. Really cool. You still get all the EC like warnings and stuff like that you get, like all those like, ooh, you careful what you wish for kind of events, but through sword and sorcery stories, which is really cool. Hal, issue 2 from Ahoy. This is wild. This is such a wild story. This is all about an alien invasion, essentially. And it follows a woman who, her partner starts seeing a therapist, and while he's there, he kind of gets abducted by aliens or something, just like kind of invades his brain, and he becomes a completely different person. And now we're seeing more and more of these people start to get controlled by these aliens, and all these men are starting to act really weird. They all go to the same therapist, and the women are starting to like put it together and starting to try to figure out like what is actually happening. And as they start to do that, things start to spread really quickly, and we see that like maybe it's not just the men who are going to be possessed. Maybe this is going to be a super crazy thing. If you're into sci-fi books, this is definitely a really cool one that's just a slow moving alien invasion, and kind of like a psychological way to do it. Jim Henson presents issue 2 from Boom Studios. This is a great anthology of just all of your favorite Jim Henson properties. There are 3 stories in this one. The first 4 stories, actually, I think. The first one is a story from the Storyteller's universe, and it's all about a turtle who wishes that he could fly because he is a very selfish, very only him focused turtle, and wants to go up to the sky god's place to get the food, makes some bad choices, and double crosses the birds who don't like that. And then there is a story from of the Goblin King and the baby from Labyrinth, and it's just kind of like what was happening with them while Sarah was going through the maze, the labyrinth, if you would. Obviously, I know everything about that movie. That was really good, right? I did a good job. And then we get another storyteller story, and this one is all about wanting to eat food, I believe, as well. This is about the baker. This is about a baker and a giant, like, troll kind of guy, and they both are, like, the best, and they end up they decide that they're going to have a bake-off to see who can bake the best food, and it ends up coming out completely different than you think it would. And I was like, hey, that's like actually one of those happy lessons instead of don't do this or you'll be sad and die. And then the last one is a continuation of the story that started in issue 1, that is more lore to your Dark Crystal world, and that's following our wandering Sketsy, not Sketsy, what are the other ones called, babe? The Mystics. It's following our mystic as he wanders through the desert. And you get to see how that plays out and how that starts to build up. So if you're a Jim Henson fan, you definitely need to be getting those anthologies. Behemoth issue 2 from Dark Horse. I love this completely different take on a kaiju. We had a kaiju attack in issue 1, and everybody tried to get away except for this one girl who was trying to just save her food truck because it was all she had left of her dad. And her friend ends up having to get on a bus in the middle of the city, and that bus is swallowed by the kaiju. And now this is now the story of a group of people trying to survive inside of a kaiju during a kaiju attack. The kaiju is still attacking the city, and these people are trying to figure out how to like survive in here. And there is so much going on inside this monster. I don't want to show you too much because you guys gotta get into this. It's so great. It's just another fun kaiju story in a completely different way. Missing on the Moon, issue 2 from Mad Cave, the other big Mad Cave sci-fi book going on right now. This is basically a murder mystery in space kind of thing. It's all about the society that we've built on the moon, and the great space war that was, that led to the population of the moon, and who got there first, and what kind of happened with that. And we see this like crumbling society. We see this detective who thinks that he's onto something, only to have himself wake up and kind of like not really know where he is. And there's just so many little pieces of this puzzle that you're like kind of seeing fall into place right now as it kind of goes step by step. But you do get to see what this society was really well planned out in issue 1. And so this one kind of just takes us straight into the action. This book makes a lot of Blade Runner references, and there was like 3 books that like really, there was one that even, it might have been this one, it was one of the sci-fi books this week, literally even said, oh, I haven't gotten there yet. There is one that makes another, like, do you dream of sheep, like, reference. Like, he literally says, do you dream about sheep? And he's, like, talking to a robot. So I love all these, like, little, Philip K. Dick references that happened this week. I feel like all the sci-fi books this week were, like, on that, or this month, I guess I should say. Obviously, the inspiration for everything sci-fi.
Electric sheep?
Yes. That's literally what he says. Like, do you dream of electric sheep? To the android. It's cute. Kill Train, issue 2 from Man Cave. I love this book. It's wild. It's crazy. It's going to be so much fun. It started out so, like, this is going to be just, like, another, like, dark serial killer book, and then it brought in some crazy, like, hilarity to it in this issue. But basically, New York has decided to deal with its population control by just picking random trains and turning them into trains that everybody on the train gets murdered. And that's how it's like, oh, good, now we got rid of thousands of people in one time. And usually, once you have one train, you don't have another one for a couple weeks or months or so. But this woman gets on a train thinking it's safe, and she's out of money for a cab. Gets on the train thinking it's safe, only to find out that this same day that they already had a kill train, another one is in action. And she is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And it's the only thing she can do. She's got to fight her way off of it, and she's got to do it with whoever's on the train with her. And so they are building their team of people. It is hilarious to watch them dissect all of the people, and they're gonna figure it out, hopefully, and see if she can get home to her daughter. Will they be the first people to ever make it off the kill train? I don't know. I don't think they're all gonna make it out, that's for sure. Memoirs from the 20th Century, issue 2 from Blood Moon. This is a time travel story all about a woman who gets fired. It's like she loses her boyfriend. She gets fired from her job. She is like, everybody, at least people steal her research and claim it as their own. Like, everything is awful. And she's at the airport on her way to go home, and somebody offers her, like, the chance to take a pill, essentially, that she doesn't want to take. And she ends up back in time in the 90s. And now she's like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. I can set everything right. And so she sets everything up. You get all the way back to the future. She's trying to relive the life. She follows all of the protocols that she's put in place to make sure none of it happens again. And it all happens again. And she's like, how? I changed everything. How is this still happening? And so she's now back at the airport, and we're going to see where this goes. Is she ever going to figure it out? Are we going to see the same pieces of the puzzle over and over again? I kind of hope so, because I want to see if this woman ever actually figures out how to stop the events that are going to happen as it unfolds. Power Lords, issue 2 from Oni Press and the Nacelle universe, the latest of our toy line cartoon world building coming from the Nacelle-verse. This is the story of the Power Lords, who are a group of people who are basically fighting for the safety of the galaxy with these power crystals that give them all of their power. The main guy, Lord Power, in issue 1, loses his power crystal and ends up on Earth, knocked out into a different time, a year in the past, and he has worked his way back to this future point, to the now, and is like, found out where his power crystal is going to be, and comes up with his team to get there, only to have his team kind of double cross him, because they learn that he has been hiding the information about who he was. And as the other Power Lords show up, he is kind of betrayed by everybody all at once, and realizes that nobody really needs him, and he needs to step up his game and stop being a jerk. We're gonna see if he figures it out. The Nacelle issues have only been 3 issues each as they build that world to come together, so we've got one more issue to see what exactly happens with those Power Lords. Those Not Afraid, issue 2 from Dark Horse. This is a hot, different take on serial killers. This is about a world where there are 2 serial killers who are close to defeating the record for the most kills in the area, and they hear about it on this podcast. One of the serial killers hears about it on this podcast and finds the other one and is like, hey, we're both really close to breaking the record. What do you say we go at it together? Like, let's see who gets there first. And so they start taking, like, trying to out-kill each other, essentially, and they're meeting up and having, like, lunch and meeting at laundromats and, like, having a conversation. He's like, isn't it nice having a buddy you can talk to about this? Anyway, they're also, like, he's, like, setting, like, the serial killer up with friends, and they're all kind of, like, in this, like, he's just, like, building it like as any other coworker. Meanwhile, they're killing everybody in town and trying not to get caught. Some twists and turns happen, and we're going to see who gets caught first and who makes it to the top on the kill list as this story unfolds. It's very good. Of course it is. It's Kyle Starks. The Seasons, issue 2 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator. This is such a fun, bright-colored book from Rick Remender that is still somehow dark and creepy all at the same time. This is a story of 4 sisters, spring, summer, winter, and fall. Spring, summer, winter, and autumn. Her name's not Fall. And they are, their parents have gone missing, and Autumn, who is the explorer, has gone out to kind of figure out what happened to their parents. Winter, who is the painter, is supposed to be raising the youngest sister, Spring, and Summer is out being a celebrity and not paying attention to anybody. Meanwhile, a creepy circus is coming to town, and Autumn has sent a letter home that says, do not be there when the circus comes to town. Get out of there, the clowns. There's something evil. They're coming to get you. But Winter thinks that that's stupid and doesn't want to believe anything Autumn says and doesn't trust Spring to relay the information. So she is not going to let them leave, and now they are stuck there, and the circus has come to town, and bad things are going to happen. And we're going to see what those bad things are. I really want to know where this is going. This is one of my favorite books right now. It's so wild and crazy and just beautiful to look at. And it's gonna get crazy, and I can't wait to see how. Ripperland, issue 2 from Dark Horse. You know I love my theme park murder mysteries, and this is another great one. This is basically after the fall of England in the modern world. America kind of takes it on as a theme park. We're like, hey, we'll let you be a part of America, but you have to stay in the Victorian era and be a theme park destination for all of Americans to come travel to. And so it is just the Victorian era all over again, no modern conveniences. And a man, the grandson of the richest man in the world, goes to visit this theme park and is murdered by a Jack the Ripper copycat. And now one of our lead FBI detectives has to go across the pond to go and solve this mystery, but unfortunately for him, he cannot use technology. He has to blend in, and he has to start solving the case the way that they classically do. And so he's working with a detective from that area to try to solve the murder mystery. And we are seeing the Jack the Ripper story come back to life in some really crazy ways. So we're going to see how this unfolds. I love the massive world that Steve Orlando is building. We're going to see where that payoff comes through as it happens. I'm going to take another drink before this gets bad.
Breathe more.
I did it. I know.
Circular breathing.
I can't breathe through my nose. I still don't have the ability to breathe through my nose, guys. I'm doing the best I can. Every time I do, it makes it worse. When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee, issue 2 from Boom Studios. This is basically another exorcism story for us right now. This is about the world's greatest exorcist, who is a priest who does not follow the rules of any of the things the church would normally expect you to do. And he is in the process of training a new guy, and they find out that there is a weird call that they get, and so they go out to try to figure out what's going on with this kid who may or may not be possessed. And they hear that the person who was like the priest before him has been spotted, except that man is dead. And then they hear about like their cat, like their horse getting randomly pregnant. And then they find out that the kid is in fact possessed, and they have to do this crazy exorcism. It's off the walls, like all the stuff that happens. There is definitely some like weird stuff afoot in this book, and these guys are gonna have to figure it out. But they're gonna have to learn to trust each other first, and maybe expose some of those dark secrets that they don't want to let free in the process. Green Hornet Miss Fury issue 2 from Dynamite. I'm so excited that Miss Fury is back. I think we don't get enough of these classic like pulp female characters brought back, and so I'm glad she's here. They are teaming up right now because both of them have a similar ally that they've trained with in the past, and that ally has gone missing, possibly murdered, and the two crime fighters have to figure out how they can solve this case. And since there's so much overlap, they're working together, even though neither one of them trusts the other. We're getting a very like Batman Returns, Batman Catwoman kind of situation going on here. Green Hornet is trying to solve the case by doing his usual thing of using his newspaper contacts in order to try to solve things. Miss Fury is very unhappy to learn that she is dealing with a spoiled rich kid who may or may not be part of the problem. And now Kato has gotten himself into trouble, and there is some people from the past who have come back to attack the Green Hornet, and maybe that is why his biggest allies are in trouble at this point. So we're just getting started on this adventure, so definitely check that out. And if you're liking Dick Tracy, Alex Segura is a part of the writing team for that story as well. So. And The Lucky Devils, issue 2 from Image. This is from your team that brought you 8 Billion Genies, so if you love that book, you need to jump onto this one. Basically, this is a world where everybody has a devil on their shoulder, and those devils are responsible for us making the choices that we shouldn't make, and they get points, essentially. Like, the more they cause you to stumble, the more points they get, and the higher up they climb in their own corporate ladder. And the way you really do that is you have to have somebody who has high influence. And so these two devils who they never get assigned to people who have high influence, have also been assigned to the nicest people who have never done anything wrong in their life. And they figure the best thing they can do is garner some more influence for them. And so they're going to do the work to make these people important people. But they're going to do it through helping them, which is something devils have never done before. So they are breaking all the rules of being a devil in order to help these people. They're actually not trying to cause them to do the wrong thing at all, only because they know that if they can get them the power they need, they'll be able to eventually cause them to make the bad choices they need them to make in order to get the ultimate level. They're trying to destroy hell. They're trying to take it over one day at a time. They're going to do it with kindness, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to see how this plays out. It's so good. And of course, as always, Charles Soule has all kinds of like legalese built into this, and it's so funny the way it rolls out. Gotcha Man, Only One Earth, issue 1. Well, we made it to the ones. This is from Mad Cave. This is a secondary Gotcha Man story, so we've got a second Gotcha story coming your way. In this one, we see them in a different space. Galactor's still their bad guy, and Galactor is coming after a princess, and they need to protect this princess, and one of the ways that they are doing that is by entering into a race that she is hosting in order to make sure that she is safe during this race, and Joe is the driver. And of course, as I mentioned earlier today, Joe is very rash and does not pay attention and is not a good team player, and because of that, Joe ends up in all kinds of dangerous, bad problems, and the princess is in danger, and Joe is like, I'm going off on my own to save them, and we might have lost Joe. I'm not really sure. We leave everybody kind of running to get to safety, and we don't really know what's going to happen, and that is just the beginning of this big adventure. Stop making bad choices, Joe. Lenore returns, issue 1 from Titan Comics. Matt is very excited. This is a series I know he loves, and it is picking up. This is picking up. If you read Lenore in the past, they kind of were all left spread out into different times and places. And so we kind of see where everybody left off in the different time periods that each of the character from the Lenore world was. And this is them putting them back together again. And trying to figure out, I love this. You get like this little pinup. Actually, there's a whole full poster on the next one. I'll flip it down. But they're trying to figure out how to put the team back together again, and who it is that like spread them apart, and what it is that's going to be the next big adventure that they go on. And Lenore found herself going up against Cthulhu himself, and she's very like, this guy, I don't know about this guy. This guy had some problems, and I think I took care of it. But it's so hilarious. This is, if you're fans of, I love how like serious Cthulhu is drawn, and then up against Lenore being ridiculous, and like he's so so incredibly, like, scary and ultra, like, detailed drawing, comparatively speaking. But if you're a fan of the series in the past, if you're a fan of things like Johnny the Homicide Maniac, you definitely want to jump into this. And honestly, you can read it if you didn't read the past, because they do give you that, like, this is everything that happened in the previous series. I'll just give you that. All right. We've got Pop Kill #1 from Mad Cave. Also, Matt's just going to be reading.
Oh, sorry. Are we still doing the show?
Matt's like, my book. I gotta read it. Pop Kill from Mad Cave, kicking off this week. Not this week, last week, one of those weeks, I don't know, at some point. This is all about, I should have checked this, because this guy sleeps with a lot of people. This is all about a guy who works as an assassin and a cleanup person for a soda company. And basically, there are two conflicting soda companies that are run by brothers. One is like Fizz Cola, and one is like Pop Cola. Popso Cola, and so they are at war with each other, and they're trying to figure out who's going to get to the next big thing first. And what we find out in this story is that one of the brothers has a scientist who's figured out how to make carbonation never die. Like, she can essentially, it's like self-regenerating carbonation, so soda will never go flat. And the one guy that owns Fizz One Soda, he's like, you have to go after this woman. You have to figure out, I need this recipe. I need this scientist to work for me. I need you to take out whatever you have to take out to get them on my team. And so he ends up kind of, trying to go after her in like the James Bond way and like seduce her and try to win her over so that maybe he can learn the recipe. Maybe he can just steal her to the other side. But there's more players coming into the game, and it's going to only get more messy as the case unfolds. This guy definitely thinks like he's James Bond. He's all over the place. He's sleeping with everybody in this book. And we're going to see, I bet he's going to fall for her. And it's going to end bad for him. But we'll see. Robot Todd, issue 1 from Floating World Comics. Honestly, this is just a really pretty book to look at. This is all about a little robot. And his adventures. And he's just, I just want to look at it. But he is, he's going through different adventures, trying to get through this very like fantasy sci-fi-esque world. And there is, there is like a little, is it a mouse? He's like a little mouse, yeah. And he's kind of after, like, he's not really somebody that like Todd's going to ally with. He's going to be somebody that Todd allies with, but at the very beginning, he kind of seems like this mouse is very against him. He's trying to save the world. He's trying to put everything together. He's kind of having all of these hallucinations. Like, Todd's life is just a very confusing mess of a thing right now. He's not really sure what's going on, and he's gonna do his absolute best to just put it all back together again, and maybe help some people in the end. It's very cute. Jump Scare, issue 1 from Dark Horse. I have to say, I am very excited to see a completely new style of superhero in this book. And this was really exciting to me for that reason. Basically, this is about a teenage girl whose parents are like rich, very like conservative Christian kind of family, and she does not blend in with that in any way, shape, or form. She's super into horror movies and horror books, and just doesn't want to be a part of what her family's into at all. And one day when she's leaving a horror movie marathon, she is chased by some people, and when she tries to turn down an alley to get away from them, and yes, she knows turning down an alley is a terrible idea, she is met by the remnant of this god that is like left on this earth, and it ends up possessing her, and she is given the power of so many different things, but the coolest power that she gets is she has the ability to call forth the weapon of any horror movie villain that she's ever seen. And so she starts, and it's really cool because when she does it, let me see if we can find it on the pages. Yeah, when she does it, like, it even shows, like, the movie ticket of the movie that she's calling the weapon from, which is just really cool. We never see we never see superheroes that have, like, that different of a power set. So it's really cool to see that. It's funny, it's exciting, and she has an ultimate separation from her family because of it, but of course there is some dangerous things going on and only she can help. I'm really excited to see where that goes. Silverhawks return. We have the Silverhawks cartoon coming to life in our Dynamite comic world of cartoons. I just wrote that and I didn't mean to. And so we've got the first book of those, and I like it much like the Thundercats and things like that. We're going to see a little bit of a reboot. So we see that we're in a futuristic world where the Silverhawks have already existed and are at the point where they've caused so much peace that they're bringing them to retire. And we're at a retirement party for like the leader of the Silverhawks. They're talking about closing down the base that they used to use, Hawkhaven and all of that. And when they're at the party, their greatest villain ever actually escapes from prison and is like, nobody knows what to do. And as he escapes from prison, he unleashes like all of this danger on the earth. And they're like, we have to reinstate the Silverhawks. But they bring them in and they're all old people because the Silverhawks were in charge a long time ago. And they're like, we are going to have to do a new team. And so basically, we're kind of going to see, like, the Silverhawks are like the Minutemen to the new team's Watchmen that they're going to build. And we're going to see how that plays out for this new team who is going to be built probably in the next issue because we just kind of see the first little teases of that. But if you're a fan of the Silverhawks, this is going to be a fun one to see how that comes into play. Mist it is Ripples. They're all one-shots in the Mist world. This is from Dark Horse. The Mist universe is all about basically a part in the galaxy where like people live like half in this fade and half on the what they call the and balance in between the dangers of life. And in this particular spot of the Mist, there is a festival every year where they basically have to close their eyes and swear to them like they'll hide from the light that creates these ripples because they're all in this dark area. And one little kid is determined to see what everybody's so afraid of. And when he does that and he opens his eyes, he sees something crash land and he ends up going out into the forest. And in the forest, he sees that there's all these bright colors and the world is a beautiful place. And he's so excited about it. And then all this bad stuff starts happening and everybody's like, it's because you went to the ripples. It's because you're rippling. You're a bad person. Like, you're leading us to all this destruction. It's all your fault. And, like, the community kind of, like, scorns him from it. Well, it turns out scientists arrive and they say that there is, something that has crash landed there and they need to do an investigation. And this kid gets to be a part of that. We get to discover what it is that's magical about this place and what's come. And much like all the Mist books, we get to see like this beautiful like space story kind of unfold. So check it out. Their anthology, you don't ever have to see, like none of the characters have even reoccurred between them, so you can jump in anywhere. Godzilla vs. America launches with Godzilla vs. Chicago, the first of the cities that the kaiju is going to go after. And each of these is going to feature multiple stories from different creators. In this one, we have creators Mike Costa, we have a story from Ezra C. Daniels, Tim Seeley, and one from Carolyn Cash, Chicago native themselves. The first one is about a guy who calls himself Fangooly, because he's a fan, like one of those like fan writers, and he's supposed to be themed around like Svengoolie from Chicago, and he's trying to he ends up on his like fan writing one day. He accidentally causes the Bears to lose their football game, and everybody in Chicago hates him because they don't like losing. And so he's like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get Mecha Godzilla and I'm gonna use him to I'm gonna make it set up that like he's attacking the city and then I'm gonna save the city from Mecha Godzilla. But unfortunately for him, actual Godzilla shows up and he's got to battle against that. The second story is all about this girl who is riding the train. She's on the L and she's trying to talk to this boy that she's always liked and she had a crush on. And they went to high school together and now he goes to Columbia and she goes to a different school. It's so Chicago. It's so cute. And I love it because you do have like the little like track like lineup on the, like you have the L like stops like announced at everything. But while they're on the train, Godzilla attacks and they have to figure out how to survive the thing together. And it's just a super cute like little meet cute with them and Godzilla, and I love it. And Meet cute. It's when it's what they call it in romantic comedies when two people meet and it's cute and it starts their relationship.
Thanks for explaining that.
You're welcome.
Us who don't know.
You're welcome. This third story is about Godzilla is coming and is going to attack, and they're worried that he's going to destroy the whole city. So one of the politicians is like, oh, well, we can have him attack my neighborhood, and we'll lead him with light to my neighborhood instead of everyone else's. And the people of the neighborhood realize that the politician is just trying to do that so that it destroys the neighborhood, and he can rebuild it and gentrify it. And so these Southsiders end up figuring out a way to make Godzilla not attack the South Side and go after all of the rich people on the North Side. And then the last story is the one from Carolyn Cash, and it's Godzilla just stomping his way through Chicago, and this girl becomes a giant kaiju on accident, ends up fighting with Godzilla herself, Chicago style, and comes up with a nice solution that makes everybody in Chicago happy. Just a lot of fun stories, and if you know anything about Chicago, it's fun to see all the reference points. I know, I'm just going to hand you that.
Can't be sold out otherwise. They gone.
Huh?
They gone.
They gone. The Loose End, issue 1 from Titan Comics and Hard Case. Another great crime story getting started. This is gonna be a fun one that's just gonna go into like your classic crime stories. But basically, we follow a guy who gets invited out by a friend and to go gambling, and he always gets himself in a lot of trouble. And, overplays his hand way too many times, and now the casino people, the mobsters, as it were, are after him, and what they want is his friend has invited him to a bachelor party for a very rich producer guy, and he's like, going to go on this trip, and they're like, you have to go on this trip and you have to kill this guy and you have to do it for us, and this is how you're going to do it, and if you don't do it, we're going to come after you, and if you don't do it well, we're still going to come after you. So just one of those like classic crime capers, like what, how's it going to play out, all the team get assembled and kind of things. Really good so far. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I love these hard case books. I love that they take those novels and just convert them into comic form, and it's just so good. The 27 run Crash from Battle Quest, issue 1 of, I believe, 3. This is, I love that they say it's Robotech meets Mad Max and Godzilla, which is, it's totally a great way to describe this. But this is, a guy wakes up, and the only thing around him is this android robot, and the robot is like, hi, I'm here to keep you alive. And he's like, for what? And he's like, for all of the missions that we're fighting. And he's like, what kind of missions? And he's like, oh, well, you're inside of a mech suit and we're fighting this giant dragon thing. And the guy's like, I have no idea what's going on. I had no idea that I was in a mech suit. Like, what is happening? And so he has no recollection of anything in his life. And this incredibly impatient android is yelling at him. Meanwhile, he starts to finally have his memories come back to him in this battle, and so he's able to slowly piece together what's happening and where these monsters came from. But at the same time, the more he remembers, the meaner the android kind of gets, because he's like, oh good, I was programmed to be nice to you while your memories didn't work, but now that your memories are back. Really funny, really great sci-fi adventure story, and definitely the start of a big kaiju mech battle to come, for sure. Mine is a long, lonesome grave, issue 1 from Oni Press. I am very excited about this book. This is one I've been waiting for, and I'm so excited to see how it plays out. Basically, we have a guy who was in prison for some crimes that he committed. Returning home, we find out that his wife is dead. He may be responsible for that. And his daughter has been forced to live apart from him, and there is a lot that goes into the town where he's from, which he returns to only quickly just to kind of take care of a couple of things. But while he's there, we learn that there's some curses that have been put on him by the family and by the other people that are there. And apparently there is a long, like, lonesome history of magic, darkness, and the things that haunt him are going to definitely come into play in some big ways, and he is going to have to fight his way through his vengeance and against these people who are after him with their magic. And I love it because I thought it was just going to be like a crime vengeance story, and to find out that it also has witchcraft in it is totally making it even better. And it's going to be so good. And that issue has Press Shann on art, which I love. Bug Wars issue 1 from Image Comics. This is a wild concept that is like literally like Game of Thrones and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids all at one time, and yet not those things all at the same time. And so
is this Jason Aaron?
It is Jason Aaron. It starts out with the story of the Bug Wars, which is literally bugs in wars. Like I said, very Game of Thrones-esque. And it goes through that for like the first third of the book, and then we actually fast forward into our world, and I'm going to do just that once we get there, because we find a family, a mother and 2 sons, who are moving into a house that her husband used to own, and he has passed away, and now the kids and her are moving back into this house, the house that he actually passed away in. They had left it because bad things had happened, but now they've lost everything else, and they have to move back into this house. The younger son is like his father. He's an entomologist. He loves bugs. He wants to have them surrounding him all the time. The older son is deathly afraid of bugs and wants to kill them at all costs because of a very tragic circumstance that you must read the book to find out about. That is why the older brother is deathly afraid of bugs. This is going to lead into these 2 worlds intersecting. What does the world of the bugs having an epic battle have to do with these kids? Where are they? How are they going to end up connected to this? This is, like I said, a very Honey, I Shrunk the Game of Thrones kind of situation coming in. And this is going to open up a very, very big adventure from Jason Aaron. And it's well crafted, and there is a lot to come in this story for sure. All right, we have a couple of Valentine's Day stories. I know, it's already passed. But we have Creepshow and Love. This is the Valentine's Day special from them, from Image and Skybound. And there's a couple different stories in here all about, just how great love can be. The first one is about a guy who is always trying to, find the perfect couple and kill them. And every time he does, he feels like he comes closer to love. And he finds a couple that he decides he's going to take out, and it does not go the way he wants it to, or maybe it does. And then the second story is actually by Patrick Horvath, who did Beneath the Trees Where No One Sees, and it's all about a guy who wants kind of like a love potion, and the person that sells it to him is like, I don't want to give you this, it's very dangerous. And he's like, no, it's fine. He's like, okay, but only use like a small dab. Ends up getting like into a fender bender, and the whole thing spills over him, and the parking cop loses her mind, falling in love with him, and it goes from there. And then the third story is all about a guy who collects women and uses them to turn them into his cuddly creations that he can keep forever and ever. And how that plays out for him is always never the way that they want it to. Definitely creepy, wonderful, creep show kind of love stories that you need to add to your horror Valentine's Day collection. We've got the Dick Tracy Valentine's Day special from Mad Cave. We get 2 stories in here. And I'm very happy to report that they are both about Dick Tracy trying to celebrate Valentine's Day with Tess Trueheart, and I don't have to be angry at anybody this Valentine's Day. The first one is Dick Tracy and Tess Trueheart trying to go on a date, but there is a case that opens up that Dick has to go and solve, which leads him to investigating a murder on a movie set, and he is figuring out who all is responsible for that, going through the whole thing. We get a very long case for him to solve. Classic Dick Tracy capers. And then of course, I love this thing where he's like, he shows up and Tess is sitting by herself, and he's like, well, why are you by yourself? And she's like, my date bailed on me. And he's like, what an idiot. And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. I've won all these moments. And then the second story is also them trying to set up just a cute moment for Dick Tracy and Tess Trueheart, but we get to see them go through like past, present, and future Dick Tracy moments, and they kind of put them in some of those like actual classic like scenes of Dick Tracy, which is really cute. And I was really excited about that. I just want an entire arc that's just Dick Tracy and Tess Trueheart happy in love, just the way the comic strip intended it to be. And so I love that we got a special that celebrates their romance. Eat, Sleep, Reap, Repeat. We actually have issue 1 and 2 of this. This is from Berserker Comics, and this is actually a comic strip collection, and so I'm just going to show you really quickly. Each one is they're 3-panel comic strips, and so each page has 2 strips on them, and they're just about these Grim Reapers and all of the experiences they have. They're just funny, cute, exactly the kind of things you would expect to see in a newspaper comic strip. And like I said, we have volumes 1 and 2 in stock at the same time, so check those out. A Slice of Spy. This is from Cosmic Lion Productions. This is a one-shot story of a woman who is a spy, just going on one of those classic spy capers. And I love it because she's constantly like kind of filling you in the same way. And it's also very comedic. Like she's like, oh man, I got to take out this robot. And she's like, oh, that wasn't a robot. That was a guy. And then she's like, oh man, I got to take out this guy. And it's like, oh, that wasn't a guy. That was a robot. And like, just like fun capery kind of things. She's got to fight the bad guy. The bad guy's over the top. She even makes jokes about like, oh, when the bad guy has these kinds of things, you know, like he's the ultimate bad guy. So just a fun comedy take on spy stuff that you can just jump in and enjoy really quickly. Stay Awake #1. This is from Afterlight Comics. This is going to be a fantastic series. This is all about sleep disorders and the traumas that come, and murder mystery and connected with that. So this follows a detective as she interviews a psychologist about certain patients, because a bunch of his patients have all been killed. And she's like, they all just happen to be your patients. They all happen to have sleep disorders. Like, I want to talk to you about the different things and see what we can get. And so in this issue, we're just talking about the first one, who is a patient who has sleep paralysis and the monstrous thing that she describes holding her down. And we get to see that woman's story as well from like her perspective. So like he kind of like flashes into the woman's story, and we see how that plays out. It's so creepy and so well done, and has that nice newsprint smell to the ink, which I love. Let This One Be a Devil #1 from Dark Horse Comics and Tiny Onion, and this is based on the alleged true story of the Jersey Devil. And so this is all about talk about flashbacks. This has like multiple flashbacks at a time in it. But this starts out in 1909 with a man who has come home to help take care of his family after the death of his dad. And he thinks he hears something out in the chicken coop eating the chickens, like maybe a fox or something. And this is what he sees, which is wild and crazy. And while he's talking to somebody about that situation, they tell him about a time in that same town in like the 1700s when the devil became a part of their town and community. And so he's seeing this, like hearing this story, which we get to see, and it kind of just flashes into that, and we get to see this woman who's having a baby, and it's her 12th kid, and she's like, oh my gosh, this one's terrible, this one's awful, this one's gonna be a devil, like let it be a devil. And it is, in fact, going to be a devil, and it is the start of a very dark and dangerous story for us. And as James Tynion's been known to do when he has a lot of these mysterious, like, cryptid stories, he has a backup story in it that talks about a different, like, creature that we have seen, and just kind of another experience of a haunting. And so if you are into crazy weird stories, this is definitely going to be a little bit of a horror story with your cryptids in tail, and we're going to see exactly where this goes. And tail was kind of on purpose. Into the Unbeing, Volume 2, Issue 1. This is also from Dark Horse, and this is, if you've read Into the Unbeing, you kind of have to read this volume. I'm just going to say that. But this picks up in 1700s, which is not where we left off. We started our last volume, ended and began in the future. This starts us off in the past and actually shows us somebody who is researching the creature that we have become, we are inside of in volume 2, or in volume 1. And so we see this person kind of investigating the creepiness of this creature and trying to find it, and all of the battles that they go to and the way that they lose all of their team. And we see this case kind of resolve into a character from the original volume story and how they ended up inside of this monstrous beast. So if you don't know the first volume, basically these people in the future thought that they found this weird mountain that had signs of life in a world where we don't have any signs of life in nature anymore. And when they went to investigate this mountain, they actually ended up inside of a giant beast. And now we're going to find out that this beast is a lot more ancient. And is there a way out? Is there not a way out? And has everybody lost their ever-loving minds? We're going to find out as this unfolds with Hayden Sherman's beautiful art. We've got The Hive, issue 1 from Image Comics. This is building up a new crime spy kind of situation, crime family mobster kind of thing, but treating it with the concept of bees. And so we've got a queen who's running her hive. She is the leader of this crime family, and she is not to be trifled with. But we see that each person that's a worker bee kind of fills their role in different ways, and they're all kind of very loyal to the hive, except for when they're not. And that is what we're kind of seeing in this. We see a couple of people who try to take on a couple of different activities on their own. All of the hive people kind of have the ability to control minds and speak to people in ways that are really weird, and so they try to lead an operative of their own to rob a money truck, and it does not go the way they plan. And the queen may know more than she lets on about everybody in her hive and what they're doing, because as with bees, the queen is always at the center of everything. And so I'm really curious to see, because there's some people that are getting brought into the fold of this hive towards the end of the issue, and I want to see where this leads them and how this unfolds as this crime family develops. All right, I did my best to pick only enough that I could fit on the wall. I kind of picked too many, but I tried to pick one, enough books, and not too many all at the same time for picks of the week. So I picked a couple that I always talk about and a couple that are new, so you can see what's going on. First up, Exorcism at 1600 pin, issue 3 from IDW. I love this book so much. It's definitely taking some really dark turns. This is all about a woman who is president of the United States, and after she gets inaugurated, her kids start going to a school, and one of them starts having these really crazy fevers and hallucinations. She thinks it's this mysterious virus that is taking over all of the country, but she's not allowed to talk about. But as they start to investigate, she finds out that there is actually no instances of that virus anywhere near them, and so she's not really sure what's going on. Meanwhile, the older son thinks it's his fault for pulling a prank on the church at the school, and so he thinks that his sister has become possessed because of him. He may be more right than anybody else, and possession is definitely something that is coming up. This is dark. It's creepy, it's political thriller, it's all of the things you need in a story all at one time, and absolutely that's some of the top of what IDW is putting out for sure. Murder Kingdom. Look, I'm going to keep bringing this book. This is issue 4. It's from Mad Cave. I'm going to bring it every issue because it's so freaking good. This is all about a theme park that is very much like Disney, that the young girl who is forced to be Briar Rose after the other character is murdered seems to be the only one that's interested in solving the murders that are happening all around the park, and everybody is dying, and this park is now on lockdown, and this is only getting crazier and crazier as it goes on. She and her best friend have just found a secret passageway that hopefully is going to lead her to solve some information about this murder, but in fact it just leads her to more questions and some shocking turns. I swear, this book, every single issue, ends up coming up with another way to shock me, and the second half of this book is all of that. I did not see this one going in the direction that it went, which is why it's still here in my picks. It's so good. If you liked Dark Ride, but you also like murder mystery books, this puts both of those things together and does it in such a fantastic way. Keep it up. It's going to keep going. Godzilla Heist, issue 1 from IDW. Look, this takes everything that I said I liked, all 5 hours of this show long, and puts it in one book. We got Godzilla, we got crime. This is about a guy who has figured out how to basically pull Godzilla out of his like nesting water space into whatever city he's trying to do a heist in, and can kind of control where Godzilla attacks and wins when he does that. And so he's determined to use that as a way to capture everything that he wants. And so in the very beginning, he does a big heist that gets him a lot of money, robbing a casino. And a bunch of people take notice of it, and they end up calling him in, and they're like, hey, we're going to put you, you're going to work for us now. We need to do this heist. It's not for money. You don't need to worry about what it's for. You just need to get your dinosaur, and come out on our team. And he's like, all right, fine, whatever. Just don't kill me. And he's like, even though I know they're going to kill me anyway, I'm the only one that can control Godzilla. There is already levels of backhandedness and underscores and a secret, like, historical, like, crime situation here, and like promises to restore order to the balance of his people. Oh my gosh, there's so many layers. I'm so excited. This is like the serious version of Kaiju Score from a couple years ago, except with the actual licensed Godzilla. It's gonna be great. I'm going to do this one next. Bronze Faces, number 1 from Boom. This kind of goes with that same thing. This is the story of a group of people who are like a found family that are raised together and by one man, and that man is a huge artist in their African village, and he's made all of these like masks that are a part of like very sacred to the people and representative of the royalty and the lineage of all of their families. And when he passes away, those masks are just put into museums, and they're told that like they can't access them, they can't have them, they can't get anything from it. And the 3 non-sibling siblings come together, and they're like, we were all raised by this man in different ways. Like this culture is ours. We need to get these back, and we need to get back everything from our people and all the people that have been taking from us all these years. And so they're gonna rob everybody, and they're gonna take back what belongs to their culture. And I love all of these books about like robbing museums and putting the things back into the places where they truly belong, that have been coming out recently. Like, I'm so in, and this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see where that goes. And then lastly, we have a one-shot from AWA, which I'm very excited to see something coming out from them, and it's Cam Girl. And I really like this thriller. I love that it kind of just, I love to see a thriller that can fit in one issue. You know, we're seeing a lot of books that are coming out recently that are doing all of these crime and murder mysteries and thrillers and things, but they all like kind of need all of the room that they have. This one managed to fit it all into one. This is about a girl named Danny. She has a completely different persona online. She essentially runs like an OnlyFans, and that's kind of been how she's lived her life for a really long time. You know, her best friend's like, you are so smart, you were an engineer, you had so much going for you, like, why did you stop doing that? And she's like, this is easier, and it's more fun, and I love my life. Well, now she finds herself with a stalker who is coming after her, and she keeps trying to get away from him and try to find a safe space. And she's like worried about all of this like personal demons and all of this like darkness that's been hiding, people figuring out who she really is, everything about her. And not only does she like, you know, have this stalker and have to deal with that, but she has to figure out how to like solve that mystery and overcome it and like get her power back. within all of that. And all of that happens in the book. We get the thrill, we get the scare, the fear, we get the resolution, we get the empowerment. We get it all in one book. And I love that they were able to manage to do that in one story and so well. So check that one out for sure too. All right. That's all I'm going to actually talk to you about. There was more. I read them all. I'm not going to talk to you about them because there's no time. But Frankenstein New World started up. This is another volume of the Frankenstein from the Hellboy universe from Dark Horse. It's really good. It's already starting to build out a really big universe. House of Slaughter ended with issue 30. This is going to lead into some very, very big dark things for Something is Killing the Children, and we get our first real mention, look, whatever you want to call it, of some things that have been talked about for the whole time. Planetary Explosion had issue 2 as well as issue 3. Eat, Sleep, Repeat issue 2, like I said, also came out. Patchwork Girl of Oz came out. I'm not going to bring all the kids' books to talk to you about. They're just so fantastic. This is great. We actually get to see this Oz story come to life. Zootopia issue 2 is also out. They've taken on another great adventure that's going to connect to the first one. Powerpuff Girls Valentine's Special is so cute. Oh my gosh. Blossom Daydreaming is fantastic. My Little Pony Sky Secret is so beautiful. It's all about a pony who needs help with some disabilities that they have, and the way that the ponies all accept them. It's so great. We have TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures 21 and 22, and 22 is all about baseball, so I'm really excited. Monster High New Semester issue 6. Oh my god, I love this series so freaking much. It's so good. If you're a Monster High fan, you need to read it, and if you're not, you should still read it. Archie's Valentine's Special, of course, has the one new one, as well as a couple of old stories in there. Badger is back from First Comics. If you're a fan of the old Badger series, you need to pick that up. Starting new again. Book of Cutter. This is one of those Something is Killing the Children anthology books that's going to give you a lot of the hidden back lore of it, and as well as one full story that runs through that is also going to connect into what is happening in Something is Killing the Children. Alien Armageddon 1944 is issue 2 is out from Dren Productions. Really great fun story about fighting aliens and during World War II. Deliver Us from Evil wraps up with issue 4 from Blood Moon and them trying to save the world from destruction. Deadly Trails issue 5 from Black Box also wraps up. Street Fighter Prime issue 0, starting a brand new Street Fighter story from Udon. The Human Fly issue 3, he's still trying to figure out what's going on while the new crime problem is starting up while he's on tour. Crave came out in trade paperback form. If you didn't read Maria Levitt's story about social media app going crazy on a college campus and everybody losing it, you got to check that out. Volume 1 of Lawful is out. I love this story from Greg Pak. It is so good. It is all about a world where every time you do something wrong, you get some kind of monstrous scales or fur or something on you, and one kid is trying to prove that the government is lying about all of that. Order of the Circle. This is a story. Evil smog has enveloped the city of London in 1952, and bad things are happening, and there's only one person who seems to be able to figure out what that is. Space Ghost Volume 1 is out. If you need to catch up on the new Space Ghost story from David Pepos and Dynamite, you can drop that right here. Jonesy, this is the complete collection from Boombox. A great story, super fun, beautiful like art. I love like all the fun adventure, bright colors that you get. And Sam Humphries telling a story. Venom's Venom War. If you miss out on the Venom War story, this is that volume. You can pick it up right here. And Scarlet Witch's latest volume is out for everybody who is needing to catch up on Scarlet Witch. You definitely want this. This is volumes 1 through 5 and the Crypto Shadow of the newest volume of Sue Orlando Scarlet Witch that features her new look, which I am obsessed with. All right. There was a ton of other comics that came out this month. I'm not going to tell you about them. You have to go to a local comic shop and figure them out. Next week, we will be back to normal with 1 week's worth of comics to tell you about, all back on schedule. I'm so excited. That's a lot to download. Take it in, watch it 5 times over so that you get all the pieces of the puzzle and you can be able to figure out which books you want to add to your pull list and pick up at your local comic shop. I will see you at Bad City to talk to you in more detail about all of these, but until then, happy reading, everyone. Bye.